Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Fanatec Arena here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit for the biggest race of the lives of these 23 drivers behind me. That's right, this is the regional European final of the Lamborghini Real Race Super Trofeo Esports Series, a massive competition that has run here now, today, for this regional European final. Well, as I say, 23 drivers are going to take part in 2 races. And the goal is to earn the right to drive for the Automobile Lamborghini esports team in 2024 and beyond. Going from amateur drivers that enjoy their profession, enjoy their hobby, to becoming professional, paid, real-world drivers. It's very exciting indeed to welcome these drivers. And it's also very exciting for me to welcome Chaz Draycott along with us for this broadcast, where Chaz will be taking part from home, unfortunately. So Chaz, great to have you with us today. In fact, Chaz is not quite with us just yet, so we will bring Chaz in a few moments. But before we do that one, I also have a special guest that I want to welcome onto the show. It's a driver that anybody who watches the world of esports will know all about. It is, of course, David Tanitsa, a works Lamborghini Automobile esports driver himself. So welcome over here, David, into the commentary box. How are you, sir? You've had a rather enjoyable weekend, it has to be said yourself. Tell us all about yesterday.
Well, it was a very fun experience, of course, as always. Whether you win, whether you arrive last, it's always a fun experience. And I'm great and excited to see these guys getting on track.
Yep, so you won yesterday in the Sim Pro Series powered by Rafa Racing Club. And that's put you right in the throw of championship contention coming into the final round of the year.
Yeah, and it's crazy thinking about it, because looking at the championship, I won 2 races, and the other 2 were literally P0, so no, I didn't score any single point, but I'm still fighting for the championship, and it's crazy if you think about it.
Fantastic stuff. And David, I believe now Chaz is with us. So Mr. Chaz Draycott, all the way from good old the United Kingdoms. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. I would be much better if I remembered to unmute my microphone at my end, so I do apologise for that. But I'm very, very well, Paul. I was just about to say it's a really exciting finale that we've wound ourselves up for here. We've obviously had the live events, the online events taking place all over the world already, and now we finally get down to the LAN event here at the Nürburgring, and I'm so excited to see how it all boils up. We've spoken all series about the pressure that's behind these drivers, and so much is riding on it all. Now we finally get to see what we've been talking about and what we've been building up for. I cannot wait.
Yeah, there is, of course, a lot of pressure, but the drivers also have a great experience at the Nürburgring, so we're going to have a look now at a little bit of behind-the-scenes footage of some of the things that they've been getting up to over the course of this weekend. Chaz, an incredible experience that these drivers have enjoyed, getting up close and personal with some sensational cars. And you've often said during the live streams how much you like this machinery. And for these guys to be in the heart of an action during a race weekend, it's incomparable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like being in a paddock and being around the real cars and the real series. You know, we all do sim racing and virtual racing in a way to very accurately replicate the real racing that goes on. You know, for a lot of people, this will be the closest thing we can do to driving real race cars, and it's so close nowadays that you sometimes forget how much of a difference there physically is between the two. But at the same time, we do so much that's similar in terms of the motions that we go through. You know, even the emotions as well. You know, it's amazing to see that there can be this sort of blurred line sometimes, but it's great to have the drivers there, really get them hyped up with the atmosphere of an event, especially as massive as it is at the Nürburgring as well. It's so well received there. So to see the real cars up close as well, the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2s, I imagine was one hell of an experience, because as we've kept saying all season, Paul, they're gorgeous in the sim, they make a great noise in the sim, but when you get to see the real things up close, there's nothing like it. There really isn't.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And speaking of gorgeous in the sim, up close and high intensity, we've had some great racing up to the point of this regional European final. So let's take a look at some of the highlights of the season up to this point. Four races featuring 96 drivers, and only 23 have made it here to the Nürburgring in these Fanatec rigs, getting ready to go racing in a few moments' time. So it feels like a good moment, David Tinitzer and Chaz Draycott, to have a look at the stars of the show for this evening. So let us introduce our drivers in this regional European final. Maciej Malinowski from Poland is the first man up on the podium.
Followed by Florian Dirkop from Germany.
Amos Larito from Italy.
Simone Seminara also from Italy.
Representing Italy once again, Stefano Bonsignori.
Marco Lomi joins in after fantastic form all season.
Pavlo Pavlichuk is the next driver up on stage.
Followed by Corrado Ciriello.
Florian Schiesel from Germany, big crowd cheer.
Andrea Miato as well, another absolute star.
Italian, Dario Yamulo.
Michael Romagnoli next up.
Nikodem Sobczak from Poland.
And from the UK, Jack Noller.
Then we have Leonardo Porco from Italy.
And his countryman, William Pisano.
Another Italian driver, Michele Pirella, is next on stage.
And then Guglielmo Filippi next up.
From the United Arab Emirates, Vin Kuipers.
And Ruslan Kamudlin.
Conor McGowan, another one of our wildcard entrants.
And Tinko van der Velde from Germany.
Carl Janssen from Sweden is the last driver, another one of our wildcard entrants. And a big round of applause from the audience for our drivers. There we go, fantastic atmosphere, as always, here in the Fanatec Arena. And for everybody watching at home, let's take this opportunity to encourage you to get involved on YouTube. Get into the comments section if you've got any questions for David Tinitzer, for Chaz Draycott, or for myself over the course of this broadcast. We'll try our very best to mumble through them while David puts us right, because Chaz and I won't have the facts. So drop us a line on social media, drop us a line on YouTube in the comments as well, and we'll try our best, Chaz, to help through the course of this broadcast afternoon.
Yes, we absolutely will. We will do all that we can to make sure it's entertaining and informative throughout. But to be honest, Paul, I think the drivers and everybody involved here have already got that covered for us. We'll merely be the narration as we are as commentators for this event. But I'm really looking forward to this, because one element that I was just about to bring up as we beautifully cut to the pictures of the racing cars on track now, it's wet out there at the Nürburgring today, not just in the real world, but here in the virtual world as well. And I tell you what, if there's anything that could make these Lamborghini Super Trofeo Huracans look any better, it's some really moody wet weather. It looks awesome.
Yeah, absolutely difficult conditions here in the Nürburgring. This is qualification for our first race. To remind you all, we'll have a 15-minute qualification, a 30-minute race, which is a little bit different to what we normally have, a short 10-minute break where we will chew the fat with David and a special guest we hope will arrive, and then qualifying too. 15 minutes again, 30 minutes again. There are points up for grabs in the races, and whoever gets the most points gets that opportunity to join the Automobile Lamborghini Esport team. And David Tinitsa, Maciej Malinowski, who we saw in action yesterday in your race, is the man who's quickest so far.
Well, it's very tough to do something like that, you know, because you have to prepare 2 races. Of course, the track is the same, but the car is different. And he's doing a really good job also because the track looks like it's almost flooded, so it's raining quite a lot. And to pull out a performance like this so far, it's incredible from him.
And Jazz, we've seen this so many times in wet sessions. Often, the longer you can stay on racetrack circulating, the better chance you're going to get the best conditions to set that time, isn't it? Jazz, are you there, sir? So, Maciej Malinowski is our man that's fastest. Jack Noller, 12th position at this moment in time. He'll be looking to improve. He needs to find just under 1 second to get in contention for that pole position, but a little bit squirrely in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. He manages to keep the car on the track now as we ride on board with Dario Yamulo, coming down into the hairpin. Tricky braking zone, going to make sure you catch the curb on the inside. Some water running across the circuit. And David, it's an obvious question to ask, but try and articulate it intelligently, because my question's rubbish. How much more difficult is driving in the rain? How little grip do you have compared to the dry?
It's a completely different condition, because when you are racing in dry conditions, of course you get a lot of hours to train, so you know exactly what to expect. But when it comes to rain, you never know how, like, the intensity of the rain. So every time you get on track, you are never sure about what lap time are you going to do and where the grip is going to be. And of course, I guess these guys put a lot of hours in dry conditions. I guess they also train in rain conditions, but you know, in tracks like this, it's very easy to do a mistake, so it's way more tough.
Well, looking at this one now as we run into the final corner. Yamulo's just under 2/10, just over 2/10 of a second up now, coming through the final turn. He's got to spot his acceleration point. Don't use the slippery curves on the outside of the track. Currently in 4th position. Will this move him up the running order? Yes, it does. The provisional second row of the grid, 0.5 of a second lost in that final turn, so Yamulo still has work to do. Nikodem Sobchak that we're looking at now, down in 11th position. Car number 13, unlucky for some. Will it be unlucky for Sobchak? Now as he accelerates to the line, qualification, 50 seconds left on the clock. Sobchak, will he improve his position as we now flash down into 7th position? This is one of our Lamborghini wildcard drivers. This is Janssen in 7th position at the moment. Janssen incredibly quick on a different sim racing platform, relatively new to the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione, certainly new to this competition. When he crosses the line, will he improve his time? 2nd position, less than a 10th there, David Tinitsa, away from that provisional pole.
Very strong performance from him, but we're looking right now that everyone, when it's wet conditions, you need to put a lot of laps in, because of course you need the feeling, and we still have 1 lap to go for literally everyone, so let's see if the track condition will make these drivers improve themselves.
Absolutely. Corrado Chiarello now is the man that we're watching as he comes across the line. He's in 12th position. He's moved himself up, I believe, the running order, but we're flashing back now on board once again, and look at the conditions. The driver's trying to find grab. The chicken flag is out, so anybody who started their lap has an opportunity to complete that lap. Subject that we're riding on board with in 6th place at this moment in time. And as a driver, how much risk do you take in these conditions? Do you leave a margin, or is it just go for broke?
Depends on the situation, because if you are P1 with a lot of margin, of course you can take it easy, but if you are far from the back and you need to send it to get the pole position, yeah, of course you have no margin, you have to push.
And of course, the extra element here as well is these are points-paying races and 2 of them. So you have a bad first race, it's going to be incredibly difficult to close that down in the second event.
Yeah, and also we saw yesterday that in this track it's very important, the qualifying, because it's very hard to overtake, but yet we have the rain, so everything can happen, because we saw that mistakes can happen in this track, even in dry conditions, so I will expect to see many.
Right, let's look at this now. Sobchak will be hoping to avoid those mistakes that David Tanitsa mentioned through the final corner. He's 1/10 of a second up. Now he's losing time on acceleration, so not got as good a run to the line. But can Sobchak improve? Yes, he can. 4th position in his final throw of the dice for Nikodem Sobchak. That is a great time. We're looking at Philippe now, all the way down in 21st position. We say all the way down, but the margins are so incredibly tight, David, especially considering the conditions. Sobchak now, let's watch him. Give me your opinion through this final chicane, this difficult chicane.
It's very tricky. Also in dry condition you need to jump over these curbs, but imagine with these curbs it's all slippery, the track, there is no grip, and of course it's very hard to do, and he's improving by 1 second, so we'll see where he will end up from this lap.
Yeah, so Philippe now accelerates to the line. He's got a massive delta at the top of the screen, so he's going to improve hugely, and so he does, into 9th position. So talk about maximum pressure. Great result, absolutely fabulous there for Philippe to get inside the top 10. A wry smile as well, and a little sigh. And you know all about this world of competing in an arena to a crowd with the applause, with the broadcast. How much more difficult is it to be on site compared to in your office or where you do your racing normally?
Well,
in fact, sorry, David, to interrupt you. Sorry, let's just have a quick look at the times. As Michael Romagnoli is the man that takes pole position from Maciej Malinowski. On the second row of the grid, Carl Janssen and Andrea Miato. Nikodem Sobchak is 5th ahead of Florian Durkop. Dario Yamulo in 7th place, just ahead of William Pisano. Philippi in 9th ahead of Seminara on row 5 of the grid. Pavlo Pavlichuk in 11th place from Amos Lorito. Lorito finished 2nd at Monza, but qualifies in 12th place. Tinko van der Velde and Marco Lome make up 13th and 14th position. Corrado Cirello is 15th on the grid with a 2 minutes 3.532. Jack Noller is just ahead of Stefano Bonsignore in 16th and 17th. And then we have got in 18th position one of our wildcard drivers from the Lamborghini dealer network. That is Vin Kalpers. In 19th, Michele Pirella. Leonardo Porco 20th. Ruslan Kamadulin in 21st. Florian Schiesel in 22nd. And the last man on the track and on the grid is Connor McGowan. And going back to my question there, sorry to have had to interrupt you there, David. How much more difficult is it for these drivers in this arena environment than being at home?
It's way more difficult because you have to try and isolate yourself, because when you're racing from home, of course, you are in your room, there is no one looking at you. Here it's completely different, but you know, when you do that overtake and you hear the crowd like cheering for you, it's something that you will never get from home, and it makes racing from this arena easier, but of course it's always be tougher.
And of course, it's a fantastic atmosphere. So a big shout out to everybody in the arena watching today, and thank you for your cheers and support. It really does bring the atmosphere up and adds the pressure, I suppose, to these drivers. And now they've done quali, what goes through your mind as a driver in these few waiting moments before we go into a race?
Of course, again, depends on the position where you are starting, because if you are starting in front, you have a lot of pressure. You know that you have to hold that position. And of course, if you start from the back, you already feel like the race is going to be tricky. But of course, it's usually, you know, it's the moment that I hate the most, because, you know, when you have those 5 minutes and you are literally there standing on the grid, you have nothing to do. Of course, you talk with your team, you think about the strategy and everything, but it's very stressful. I can guarantee it's very stressful.
And then it's almost even more stressful for these drivers, because this, for a majority of them, for the ones that I've spoken to, certainly, this is the first time in this kind of environment. So you've got the real discomfort of new equipment, new scenario, different country than where you normally live as well. And that all plays on the mind of a driver, doesn't it? Because remember, these are not professional drivers. These are drivers looking to become professionals.
Yeah, well, it's a mix of conditions that, you know, of course, all the anxiety on the rig, the arena and everything that makes everything more hard. But, you know, it's a very good experience, and I'm happy for these guys, because I passed through this, and I can assure you that it's a very fun experience.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much. Now, as we can see on screen, the rain is still falling ahead of this first race, and Michael Romagnoli, Maciej Malinowski are our front row of the grid, and then Janssen and Miato in third and fourth position. Car number 10 is Andrea Miato that we're looking at there to the right-hand side of your screen. Alongside him is Nikodem Sobchak in the number 13 machine. I said it during qualifying, 13th, unlucky for some. Not necessarily for Sobchak. Good qualification, well inside the points-paying places and in a premium position to attack in this race. Florian Durkop in the number 2 car that's just gone past our screen will be 6th ahead of Dario Iamulo, Italian driver in an Italian car in a predominantly Italian competition. Big pressure on Dario to get a good result. 16th position, William Pisano in car number 16, and then Filippi alongside him in the green and purple and white machine that you see on your screen there. Simone Seminara, car number 4, is our 10th place qualifier, and remember, points are only paid to 10th position in the race. So he'll be looking to move forward, if at all possible, as will this man, Pavlo Pavlychuk, another incredibly impressive driver. During the qualification stages, down in 11th, Amos Larito alongside him, a driver I'm sure many know much about from years of competition. Tinko van der Velde, another one of the drivers that we see in the Sim Pro Series. He's 13th ahead of Marco Lome, and then Corrado Ciriello in 15th place, car number 8, lovely livery on that Lamborghini. Jack Noller is keeping him company alongside in 16. Stefano Bonsignore, car number 5, the gold-coloured machine on there. Will the gold bring him some luck? He's got to make at least 7 places to score points. And then we have got alongside him Vin Kalpers in 18th position, Pirella in 19th, Porco 20th, Karadulin in 21st, Schiesel in 22nd, and then McGowan rounding out these 23 cars. And David, this is a rolling start, as is often the case in ACC, as is often the case in GT-style racing. What's the difference for a driver between a rolling start and a standing start?
Well, of course, in standing start, you are of course, stopped in the grid, and it's a completely different procedure. But from my experience, I can tell you that rolling start it's easier because, of course, when you get to the finish line and you're about to go green, you feel a lot of pressure. I can assure you that your feet start shaking, but compared to the standing start, when you see the red lights, turning on, you have way more pressure. So it's, in my opinion, it's easier for these drivers to have a rolling start.
Yep, and then the extra element of difficulty of the weather conditions. So we often see in warm-up or on these formation laps to the grid, they'll be weaving the tyres, warming the brakes up. Does that have any difference in the wet, or is that still just as important?
I think in the wet conditions it's more important to warm up the brakes, also because warming up the brakes you put also a lot of temperature into the tyres, and it's also crucial in the formation lap to check where the standing water is on the track, so that when you start the first lap you already know where you might crash and where you might find grip.
Yeah. So when you say warming up the brakes, what is that exactly? What does that entail?
Well, of course, during the formation lap, what you usually do, it's all the brakes, a little percentage, like 20, 30, 50% even, and just do the whole formation lap with the brakes on, and of course with the full throttle, so that you can, of course, put a lot of temperatures into the brake, and then, of course, also in the tires.
So there's a lot of preparation. The racing starts when the green flag waves, but in fact, everything that comes up to this point is being done on this crucial lap to the grid, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. As I said, there is many things to do during the formation lap that people wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So our drivers are almost to the flag now. When they take that green flag, we'll be going for the first of not one but 2 races this afternoon, for the regional final of the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. And just remember, we are racing, or they are racing, for the opportunity to sign for the Automobile Lamborghini Esport team and join this man, David Tanitsa, as a paid professional racing driver in the virtual world, wearing that Lamborghini top, representing that brand, and potentially being your teammate potentially at the Sim Pro Series next season.
Yeah, also, why not also endurance races? I think it's one of the goals of everyone, like, being a Lamborghini driver and doing an endurance with other professional drivers. I think it's something that everyone would like to do.
Yep, absolutely. So 23 drivers would most certainly like to do that one, and they're fighting for this chance. First race of 2, we pay out points per race. 16 for the victory, 12 for second, 10 for third, then 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, all the way down to 10th. The points from this race, the points from the race to follow will be combined, and whoever it is, the ultimate point scorer, will be the overall champion. We've got a long way to go until we need to worry about that one. Michael Romagnoli is leading the field round, car number 12. Alongside him, car number 1, Maciej Malinowski in the gold machine. Romagnoli is, in effect, the pace car now. He will lead the field, looking for the line at the top of the gantry. When that goes green, it will be go for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Esports Series European Regional Final. We're coming down now, the acceleration off the line. The crowd are shouting as we see Malinowski immediately on the tag, trying to push Romagnoli out of space. Romagnoli very, very late on the brakes, runs too deep. Michael Romagnoli makes a mistake off the start, runs deep, stays out of the gravel, but the car is slow. He's trying to rejoin safely, and it has all gone wrong for Michael Romagnoli, pulling to the side of the circuit. Malinowski gets that race lead. Janssen up in a second position, Seminara as well, and just at the very beginning, David Tanitsu, we've got drama already.
A very small mistake that of course can happen, because you know you want to defend the position into turn 1, and you can, you know, with these conditions it's very easy to do a mistake like that, and it's very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, real shame. Further drama now. We've seen a couple of cars running off the side of the track. Romagnoli looks like he's out of contention. He's talking to the event organisers. There's some sort of drama. So Romagnoli out of the running order. Carl Janssen is now in second position. Remember, Janssen is one of our Abu Dhabi and Dubai Dealer Network wildcard drivers, so he's not gone through the qualification process. He's qualified on site. Pavlo Pavlychuk down in 10th position as well. He's got a squirrel of cars behind him. Look at all that cars. It's contact as well. That is number 6. Running a little bit out. That is Marco Lome onto the grass. Lome gets his car back on the racetrack. Everybody else makes it through, so he avoids some big contact. But in these conditions, David, it's almost like rallying, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course it's the first lap, so everyone wants to take the positions at the start, because of course they want to position themselves for a better finish at the end. So of course, first lap, it's crucial for the race.
Jack Noller, Tinko van der Velde coming together as one through the back section of the course. They both managed to avoid any kind of serious contact, but drama there. And now Charles Dracon is back. So Chaz, welcome back. What a start to this race.
Yes, thank you very much, Paul. I really do apologise for the connection issue, but what a start indeed. Massive drama as Romagnoli goes straight on at the first corner and then seemingly doesn't get going again. There's a battle for the lead once more as they come around the final corner, and Carl Janssen, who we knew was going to be a real hot shot for this, is trying everything he can to get past Malinowski. Right behind him now down towards turn 1. You've got to be so careful here in the dry in this braking zone, but in the wet as well, offline. Carl knows what he's trying to do here. Look at the concentration. Look at the amount of steering lock he's having to put in around there. And that's one thing that we've not seen too much of this season, Paul, is corners like that where you really have to pile the lock on. We've had a lot of smooth, flowing circuits so far, but this first section of this course here at the Nürburgring is a tough one.
Yeah, you've got to get very up close and personal with understeer at this Nürburgring circuit, especially in wet conditions. I'm hearing in my ear as well that Romagnoli retired with a blown engine, so unfortunate there for Romagnoli right off the very start. As Amos Lorito now on the charge in 11th position, trying to find a way past Philippi, I think it is. No, it's Commodore in fact. And Lorito in the gold machine manages to get the deal done. Although contact, Amos Lorito receives a hit from behind, the number 20, right into the back of the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. Lorito gets the car back on the straight and narrow, but they're hemorrhaging lap time. And just behind them, we've got Porco as well trying to bang into this one. Lorito's out wide, pushed onto the gravel, into the dirty stuff. It's going to take an age to get that car back on the racetrack. And Amos Lorito had a bag full of sweets, has dropped them on the floor, and he's got none left.
Absolutely, and they're all sticky sweets as well, so he's picked up the dirt that comes with them, so you can't even eat them afterwards and pick it up and figure it all out. But fantastic stuff at the front of the field as Carl Janssen, car 23, the highest number in the field, chases the lowest number in the field. Maciej Malinowski in car number 1, down towards the chicane once again. And to be honest, Paul, the fact that we've got 2 races here that are half an hour long is even more exciting, I think, than having the one, because we've got another chance to do it all again not long after this. 3rd position at the moment, Andrea Miato is just sat there in the background. I was going to say subtly waiting under the radar, but he's in a bright pink Lamborghini, so it's far from subtle, as again, out of the final corner. Spray not too much of an issue here in the sim, which is a good thing for these drivers. It means they can see exactly where they're going all of the time. But look at this, using the wet line on the right-hand side of the circuit, keeping the tyres cool where possible. They're really trying everything at this moment in time. And again, another nod to just how realistic the sims are. You know, you can manage the tyres, you can look after them by running offline. You can see a slightly drier line on the usual racing line. Not sure how that's going to last. There's contact there between Vin Kuipers, car number 19, and I believe was that Jack Noller that he was involved with there. It was number 14, another one of our wild cards. It's great to see some of these drivers, though, making their first appearance in the series, Paul, really getting their elbows out and cracking on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget they need to finish in the top 10 in this race in order to score the points to carry forward into the second and final race of this European regional final. And Kuipers at this moment in time, 13th position, is not going to be happy about losing that place to Jack Noller. He'll be trying to push forward, see if he can squeeze a little bit more performance out of that car, find a little bit of clear air to have a clear view of the racetrack in front. And David, to you, how difficult is it following in the spray of these cars? Does it make a substantial difference, or can you pick your way through okay?
It does, because first of all, as in dry condition, you have dirty air, so of course you lose some downforce. Of course, it's not as much as in dry conditions, but then of course you have all the spray, all the water coming in front of your car. So when you get closer to a car, you literally cannot see anything. So even inside the corners, you try to do different lines to you know, take the margins, because it's not easy to follow up a car.
Yeah, you got to use your muscle memory and the knowledge of this Nürburgring Grand Prix race circuit, which of course many drivers have raced on many different times. In fact, some of the drivers taking part today raced yesterday alongside David Tanitsa in the Sim Pro Series. But we're looking now on board with Carl Janssen on the right hand side of your screen. On the left hand side, looking back from, I'm not sure who that is, I think it's Maciej Malinowski it is. And this is the ever difficult task, Chaz, for these drivers, isn't it? Is you want to make the move, but you've got to stay out of trouble. You've got to be committed, but you've got to be close enough to start with.
Yeah, you've got to think about the longevity of these races. They may be half of the length of the other races that we've had in this campaign, but still half an hour is not a very short sprint race like some of the drivers have been treating them. You know, you've got to think big picture here, think long term. And on top of that, rather than tonight, or I say tonight, this morning being all about being in 4 positions at the front of the pack, you're either in or you're not. It's all about points here, because this is almost a mini championship now. With just the 2 rounds, you need to score big in both races. So we may see some drivers sitting in second or third. You know, Carl Janssen may come into this and be happy to stay in second position where he is now. Obviously, he'll want the extra points for winning the race. But at the same time, if it just becomes about risk versus reward, and he thinks that maybe he'll get in a bit of trouble here if he pushes Malinowski too much, he would definitely settle for second and play the clever game. Although going deep into the hairpin, you can see these guys are pushing so hard.
And while they're pushing, look at the left-hand side of your screen. Look at the bright pink car. That's Andrea Miato in 3rd position. So we're looking from the front and the rear of Carl Janssen's machine. He's looking for Malinowski, trying to find a way past, trying to work his way around that Lamborghini ahead. But he knows he has got competition behind. He cannot afford to make even the smallest of mistakes, otherwise that door will immediately be opened to his rivals behind. So this is great racing from everybody at the front of the field. Malinowski from Janssen, from Miato, Sobchak in 4th position, Yamulo getting a good start up into 5th, Pisano in 6th, Seminara at the moment in 7th from Durkop, Polovchuk in 9th, and Philippi is the last of our potential point scorers as things stand, but there is plenty of racing still to do. And look at Carl Janssen sideways through the chicane, Chaz. He has definitely got the bit between the teeth.
Yeah, absolutely. These things, I mean, we've spoken about the fact that they're not exactly the same specification as a GT3 car, for example. They're not quite as planted. They're a little bit more floaty. They slide around more. They give you a lot more feedback as a driver in terms of what it's doing, and you have to sort of guide it through corners gently. But these guys are really making them float in the wet here, because they do that in the dry alone. So they have to be really on their toes. And one of the scary bits as a driver about those sorts of characteristics is that, yes, the car will slide a lot, and yes, as a driver you'll know that it will, but sometimes it can just go past the point of no return, and it's so easy for a car like this to catch you out like that and have that float. Look at these guys pushing like mad around the first section of the circuit. They are throwing everything at this. You could see Carl was closing in on the back of Malinowski, but he did such a great job not to go into the back of him. He was being really respectful there, backing out of it when needed, trying to get the run on the exit. Just messed it up a little bit. out of turn 4, and now Miato is a little bit closer to him, and Malinowski's got a bit more breathing room, and that's important as we reach the first third race distance being completed.
Yeah, so Carl Janssen is the fastest man on the racetrack at this moment in time. At 2 minutes 2.950, stands as the quickest lap of the race, but he's got the small task of the drama ahead. Let's have a look now at the start. We're on board with Romagnoli coming down into T1. Goes through the gears. The car just doesn't want to stop. Engine has been blown, and we said in the live pictures I thought he was waiting for the field to pass for a safe rejoin, but there's just no drive in that car, and that is a devastating way for Romagnoli's day to come to an early conclusion in race 1. We've still got another race, but the job has become incredibly difficult indeed. And with the likes of Maciej Malinowski, the talented Maciej Malinowski at the front of the field, it's going to be a big ask for Romagnoli to recover from this one. But Andrea Miato, David, is keeping a watching brief nice and calm. What are you doing in that situation? Are you watching and waiting, or are you planning your move?
Well, usually you just wait for the top 2 guys to try and fight and take advantage of that. That's what I usually do also in real cars. It's what usually every driver do, because you know that it's tricky to attack a guy that is already trying to attack the P1. So we will just see what will happen, but it looks like that Malinowski doesn't have that pace advantage that he had in qualifying, and this, let me say, it's awesome, because we will surely see some overtakes or some defensive moves from him.
Yeah, he's building very nicely indeed with 19 minutes on the clock now. We see Yamulo running a little bit deep, trying to gather the car back together. That's made him vulnerable to Pisano behind. And again, Chaz, just like we've seen all year long, we've got battle packs all over the circuit, don't we?
Yeah, everybody's got someone to dance with here, for sure, as again we see Amos Larito there just going down the inside.
So Corrado Ceriello that we're looking at this moment in time in the middle of a battle pack. And we see now, will he find a way past? Ceriello, contact! There is contact, one of the cars sideways. I'm not quite sure who that was. I think that might have been, once again, Amos Larito. He's got the magnets attached to the car at this moment in time. Amos Larito's day's going from bad to worse. That's a big shame there, David, for Larito.
Well, it's a shame, because when these things happen, it's always like it keeps happening. Like it happens once, and then suddenly also, you know, it's when you get a contact, it's most likely going to happen another time also, because you lose patience, and it can happen.
So to make me feel really, really, really like I am out of my depth here, I've not got one professional race car driver sat next to me. I'm now welcoming another one. So I do the talking about it, and these chaps do the actual doing. Sandy Mitchell, welcome to the commentary box of the European final. How are you doing?
Good, yeah. First time in a commentary box for any sort of race, so it's yeah, cool to be on this side of the screen this time.
We'll go easy on you, it being your first one, of course. No pressure, of course. There's a big audience and there's a crowd here at the arena too. But this is the regional final, race 1 of 2. Wet conditions. Just how difficult is it for these guys out there to focus and keep the pressure at bay when so much is at stake?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot at stake, and I guess it's difficult to know what the weather was going to be before this. So, as we see, a bit of contact there, proving it's pretty difficult on the cars, but yeah, I think I've tried a bit of Assetto Corsa in the rain, and it's definitely not easy, so I'm glad all of our races in the Pro Series so far have been dry, which has made things a bit more easy. So yeah, for these guys to have one race in the wet at the moment, it's looking tricky, so it's definitely bringing a lot of action.
So while we're looking back from Carl Janssen, Andrea Miato nibbling away at his heels, I'm going to ask you about that Pro Series, the GT Pro. We spoke to David, who won yesterday in the Sim Pro. You won the day prior in the GT Pro. How did that go? Yeah,
it's good. It's been a good weekend for the Lamborghini Esports team. A big thanks to all the guys and David as well for helping me get up to speed. So yeah, I think I qualified on pole and managed to lead the race, and yeah, it was my first win in that series, so it felt great to get that win and managed to hold off the pressure from behind, and yeah, it felt fantastic. So one more round in Barcelona to go, and looking forward to that one.
And David, I may have to interrupt you halfway through if this one gets any spicier, as William Pisano now is looking every which way but loose to find a way past. But how cool is it for you to be working with the likes of Sandy on a one-to-one basis with the real racing perspective versus the sim racing perspective?
Well, it's very cool because, of course, every time also we train, you know, there is always that moment that we make questions like what's the difference between real life and simulators in a lot of in many ways. So to work with a real driver, for me, it's awesome because we are giving our experience in the sims to them, and they are giving their experience to us, and it's extremely fun to me.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff riding on board with Florian Durkop at this moment in time. And again, the weather's staying wet. This is only a short race. There's only 15 minutes, so we're the halfway marker of this race. Durkop now under massive pressure. He's currently in 8th position, so he needs to stay in that top 10, guys, in order to get the points to run into the second race of this meeting and to stay in championship contention. And again, I'm going to throw this to both of you, if I may, so the real world and the sim world perspective. How hard do you fight to stay in these, or do you just consolidate, get a point, and live to fight another day, or do you take risks? What do you do? Sandy, I'll go with you first if I can.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky situation. I think when it's something like this in Super Trofeo, if you're in the top 3, it's a little bit easier to maybe be happy with where you are because you know you have another good chance to have another top 3 in the next race, and that could be enough to have enough points over the 2 races. But battling over 8th place, really these guys want to be trying to get a bit higher, so they'll be pushing absolutely to the maximum because I'm guessing some of these guys feel like if they're outside the top 5, they've got a lot of work to do in the second race, so they'll definitely be trying to move forward as much as possible.
And we've seen all season, David, haven't we? The level of competition in the top drivers in this championship has just been sensational. You can't afford to give away time as we're riding on board now with William Pisano in 6th position. Just ahead of us, there is Dario Yamulo. And risk versus reward, David, what's the play?
Well, as we saw in this championship, it's almost like paying off to you know, get wins and then get no points in other races compared to score a point every single race. But you know, it's crucial to every race to score points. But if you are P3, P4, of course you need to try and send it because the points that you get overtaking the car in front, it's a lot and will make a huge difference at the end of the championship.
So here we go then, 13 minutes, 28 seconds left on the clock. We've got an incident between, they've just gone off my screen a little bit too quickly to shout that one out, but we do see a few drivers. Kalpers in 13th has a 5-second penalty, a 10-second penalty for 15th, a 35-second penalty for Ciriello down in 18th as well. So several drivers will have their position changed when the checkered flag comes. But let's have a look now. This is the fight for 2nd and 3rd position. Carl Janssen holding on to that 2nd place. Andrea Miato squabbling away behind him. And then Nikodem Sobchak trying to buy into this one as well. And in wet conditions, is it more difficult, Sandy, to find a way past?
Yeah, I think this track in general, it's not the easiest to overtake, but it's interesting now because the 2nd place cars was looking like they were putting the leader under a lot of pressure for the first half of the race, but now they're looking in their mirrors behind. So maybe tyre wear is becoming a bit of a factor in this race, and yeah, we're seeing the number 23 car under some pressure now.
Yeah, great stuff. And Chaz Draycott is back again with us, direct from 1993 Internet Connection. Chaz, this is a great race so far for the bottom step of the podium, or the middle step of the podium. And it's currently Carl Jensen that's dropping away from Malinowski at the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely is. Sandy's hit the nail on the head, though, there, because he was earlier putting the leader under pressure as he's now in contact from behind.
Yet, but now we see a little bit of contact, so Jensen has a little bit of contact from behind. That's Miato, and around the outside, Dario Yamulo's decided this is go time. Yamulo in the under 13 car, in fact, it's Sobchak by mistake. So Nikodem Sobchak makes his way into the bottom step of the podium. He's trying to find a way past Janssen. He's trying to defend from Miato behind as well. And that is opportunistic driving, gents, isn't it? As you said, David, earlier, wait for the opportunity and the drama to unfold and then just get the free overtake.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, because there was this fantastic driver waiting behind them, and they were fighting. One of them I think it was Andrea, made a mistake. He collided with the guy in front, and of course, very opportunistic move to get the position for both of them.
Now we've got a few moments calm. It's worth me reminding the audience at home. A few moments ago, you saw a QR code come on your screen. It said scan to win. Why do you want to do that one? Because if you scan that QR code and register for free, you could be in. There it is, the QR code. You could be in for a chance to win vouchers to spend in the Lamborghini Superstore. Well worth you doing, free to enter, just register. The more chances you times your scan, the more chances you have to win. So make sure you take the opportunity, as well as enjoying what I hope is a great broadcast at home. You've also got a chance to win some very nice prizes of vouchers to spend in the Lamborghini Star. Now, William Pisano in 6th position, starting to get a little bit dramatic. And Sandy, we saw Pisano taking different lines there. Is that the wet conditions? Why is he doing that one? What benefit does that bring to him?
Yes, I mean, certainly in real-life qualifying this morning, we were trying a lot of different lines. It was my first time here in the proper wet conditions, and trying to stay off the rubber line and prepare the exit a lot more is really important. I think in the sim, sometimes it's not simulated quite as much in terms of how slippery the dry line can be compared to sometimes going kind of off the conventional line to gain some grip. But it looks like some of these guys are experimenting a bit with the lines to try and get a better exit, because really you need a pretty good run on the car ahead to be able to make the move and be kind of at least half alongside to be able to do a move on the brakes. So yeah, it's definitely worth trying a few things to get a good exit.
Yeah, great racing that we're seeing now. Incident between car 3 and 8 on lap 6. Time penalty of 10 seconds for car number 8. That's Corrado Ciriello, who's attracting time penalties like they're going out of fashion at this moment in time anymore, and he will actually be back in yesterday. So Ciriello not having a great time of it all the way down in 18th position. We're looking at William Pisano now, 6th place, under pressure in 6th position. 9 minutes, just under 10 minutes left on the clock now. Good points for 6th position, but here is the drive now for Nikodem Sobchak, car number 13, number 10. He's trying to find his way past. That is the bright colour machine of Andre Miato. Miato has the inside line. Sobchak tries to run it all the way around the outside, and sensibly David Tinitzer decides the outside line is too risky a position and drops back into 4th place.
It was a very nice move from the outside. You know, at the end of the straight, it's one of the best places to overtake, and we saw that taking the external line paid off, because of course you have a lot of road to take. When you are inside, there is the curb, so you need to be careful also to not to go too wide to hit the other driver, and it was a very nice move from him.
Yeah, great drive in there in Sobchak now. Car number 13 in 4th position. He's moved up from his qualification place. He's shown that he can be aggressive and get those elbows out with 8 minutes left on the clock. We are running out of time. Sobchak shows the nose to the inside. Nothing doing there. The line is covered by Miato. And again, question for you, Sandy. You're Andrea Miato. How hard do you concentrate on the car behind, or do you just ignore your mirrors and keep charging?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because I'm sure he'll be a little bit frustrated after doing a really good move to get up into P3. He's now back down into P4, so he's going to be definitely looking to try and get back into the podium contention and really take good points before going into race 2. But looks like with these guys battling, the chasing pack are catching a bit as well. So I'm sure he's got one eye on the Delta as we see him run a little bit wide there. But really he's got to focus ahead and kind of reset now after dropping a place and go again and try and find an attack for the last few minutes of the race.
Yep, you're absolutely right. As you say, the pack behind, led by Dario Yamulo in 5th position, are starting to close on this little battle pack. If they spend too long fighting each other, they're hemorrhaging lap time compared to what their ultimate potential is, and that is not a good situation to find yourself in if you've got multiple cars in front, multiple cars behind. David, we've seen it many, many times in the qualifying races, in the Sim Pro and the GT Pro. All of a sudden, you can go from the attacker to being like NASCAR and on the outside of the oval and just streaming past you.
Yeah, it's not the best of the situations, because of course when you have a lot of cars behind, but even just one driver behind, you need to be smart when you want to overtake the car in front or when you want to take a risk, because everything you do, you know, you can get the position in front, or you can just lose 1, 2, 3 positions from behind. So you need to be very smart when you want to attack and you know there is people behind you.
And David, tell me a little bit, because obviously you're the more experienced in sim racing and ACC than Sandy, so the parameters in real and virtual are a little bit different. This is only a 30-minute race, and we've had fairly consistent rain. Are those wet tyres going to start to go off now, and do you need to employ a strategy to try and keep as much life in them as long as possible?
Well, of course, it's 30 minutes of race, so tire wear won't be an issue. Like it won't be too much of an issue, but also we saw I saw in free practice that there was more rain, the track was flooded, and I guess in those conditions you don't need to worry about tires, because they will literally last even for 1 hour and a half. but we see that the lap times are almost the same compared to the start of the race, so I think tyre wear is not an issue at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. The fuel burns off, the tyres become less grippy, but of course the car is lighter, so net, that's evening out over the course. We can hear a very powerful sounding car revving up outside our Fanatec Arena, which is just another one of those atmospheric moments that you get for these drivers. But now William Pisano is on the attack again. We're coming up into the chicane. You don't want to be going too wide in the chicane, but if Pisano can nail his exit, that is going to put him up in a good position into the final turn. He'll follow the car of Yamulo round that final corner and try and get a run down the start very straight. And Sandy, it's only a short race, it's a little bit of a different format to what you do in the real world, but where are the good opportunities to overtake on this circuit in a car such as the Super Trofeo Evo 2?
Yeah, the Super Trofeo's got a lot of power, even more than the GT3 car, so you really have to be able to get the traction down coming out the corners, so I'm sure the guys will be preparing the last corner a lot to have a good run down into the heavy braking zone of turn 1. And that's probably the best chance on the lap. Once you get through into this tight section, sometimes you can make a dive into turn 3 here. But overall, once you're in the middle section of the lap, the corners are all quite medium to high speed, which means it's quite difficult to follow closely to the car ahead. So it makes it quite difficult to overtake.
So during an average overtake, how much is pre-planning and how much of it is, opportunity, go?
Yeah, I think it depends. Sometimes you have to be patient if you're a little bit stuck and just wait for a small mistake to then be close enough to get the slipstream and have a chance to overtake. Other times you're constantly thinking maybe 1 lap or 2 laps ahead, thinking about where you're strong over your competitors, especially in GT3 when the cars are all different. Even more difficult in a spec series like Super Trofeo. But nevertheless, your setups might be slightly different, or your driving styles in certain corners might suit you. So you're always thinking about where you're strong. Maybe in this case, there's a bit of traffic, which might open up an opportunity.
Yeah, that is Nikodem Sobchak, so some kind of drama for Nikodem that we've not seen on screen. That's compromised him for the run. That's allowed Yamulo and Pisano straight through. So there is Sobchak in the dark-coloured number 13 car ahead. He has dropped to 6th position, but he's right on the tail of William Pisano ahead. So can Sobchak recover whatever dramas that have unfolded as we go back to the front of the field? And again, Carl Janssen is holding off Andrea Miato, but while they're squabbling, Maciej Malinowski, David, he's run away with it, 3.4 to the good. That is a very, very strong signal of intent.
Yeah, and that's a situation that every driver is always aiming to. It's when you're a P1 and in P2, P3 and all the position below, they start fighting. It's the best situation you can get because you can just put your pace and just pull away and nothing will happen. It happened to me on Paul Ricard as well. I remember there is a very nice fight between William and I think he's going to get the position done.
Oh, a bit of rubbing racing there.
Yeah, a little bit of get your elbows out in these conditions. Oh no, Sobchak made contact with the back of Pisano. Pisano does well to gather the car back together again. Sobchak now thinks ahead, gets to the line, tries to get the launch off the corner. He's got a better launch, but not quite enough to get alongside William Pisano. He's going to look to the inside, look to the outside, trying to find any amount of real estate. They're quite large cars, these Super Trofeos, and the Nürburgring is not the biggest track in the world, but Sobchak doesn't quite have enough room. But that's quite nice composure from Nikodem there, not to get too flustered and stressed out and just get back to the task in hand.
Yeah, it would have been easy there for both of them to maybe go into a spin there, especially in the wet conditions. Any little touch can be amplified by the slippery surface. So yeah, good racing from those guys. Looked like they gave each other just enough room or just enough to make it through the corner. So yeah, a good battle there for the top 5.
And while they've been trading paint a little bit, that has allowed Simone Seminara and Florian Durkop to start to buy into this fight as well. So 7th and 8th, all of a sudden, are getting a little bit interested in a potential top 6. We've only got 1 minute and 32 seconds left on the clock. So if you're the likes of William Pisano now he's got a bit of breathing space. Now he's managed to gap Sobchak behind. This is go time. You've got to give it everything, surely, guys, because if you get wrapped up in that drama, then it's very easy. You could suddenly find yourself looking at finishing this race outside of those points.
Yeah, you need to be very composed, and when this stuff happens, like when you do a little mistake, you just need to keep your head down to stay focused, because you know, you can get a lot of anxiety, a lot of frustration, and you can throw away a race just because you lost some position. So you need to be composed.
Yeah, so this is a great shot now. Look, this is our equivalent, Sandy, of driver's eye camera in sim racing. We
Absolutely.
can see the screen and the rig and everything. And tell me now, look at the amount of work he's putting through the wheel. Does that correlate with the kind of experience you would get in, I know it's a different class of car that you're racing, but is it a similar kind of like for like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've driven the Super Trofeo before in the past as well, raced in 2019, and it's a handful of a car. It's got more power and less grip compared to the GT3 car, which definitely makes it exciting. So I'm sure with the gap behind going on to this last lap now, he'll be trying to just bring it home, although I think he's done his fastest lap of the race on the last lap, so he's clearly still pushing. And yeah, he'll be feeling quite comfortable now and just trying to bring it home with that nice gap that he's got behind him.
Yeah, great driving from Maciej Malinowski. Ran away with it at the start, absorbed all the pressure from the chasing pack. And as you say, this is the final lap now that Maciej Malinowski is on. So he's going to be trying to bring that car home for the 16 points that first position pays. You've got to be careful not to get too greedy on the curb. It's so easy as a driver in this position where it's only yours to lose now, isn't it? You can't win it because you're already at the front. You can only drop it at this stage.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've got to try and not let your mind think about what you're going to do if and when you win, and just focus on the now. I mean, he's done a fantastic job because he was under so much pressure in the first half of the race. But then since then, he's been super consistent every lap within a couple of attempts, looking at the timing screens. And one corner to go now.
So here we go, then a little bit sideways through the chicane, just to keep your attention on the task in hand. But here we are, Maciej Malinowski through the final corner, looks to the checkered flag. He will take that checkered flag and race victory in the opening race of the afternoon here in the real race. Super Trofeo Esports and the Fanatec Arena. A flash of the lights from Carl Janssen in a well-deserved second position. Andrea Miato crosses the line in third to take the bottom step of the podium. Dario Yamulo came through all of the excitement to finish in fourth position. Pisano finishes fifth. Sobchak in sixth. Seminara and Durkop swapping positions on the final turn for seventh and eighth position. Pablo Povlichuk in ninth, and the last of our point scorers is Tinko van der Velde in 10th position. And gentlemen, a question to you both. You've just done an intense race. You've got a handful of minutes, and then you need to go into qualifying again. Maybe the same weather conditions, maybe slightly different. How do you reset? I'll throw that one to you first, David.
Well, of course, for example, for Malinowski, of course, he's happy right now, so he will automatically reset for going into the next race. But I think what's in mind for all the drivers here is the conditions, because we might see some dry conditions for the next race. And in that case, it might be that Maciej is not going to be the faster guy. So maybe we will see the field mixing up a little bit. But of course, going into the next race, you just need to put this race into the storage, let's say, and then focus for the next one.
And for you, Sandy, how do you find that in the real world if you've got quick turnaround of sessions or races or events or whatever? Is it hard to reset yourself, or does it just come naturally?
Yeah, I guess the main point is to try and soak up everything that you've learnt from that and then take it into the next one, while also leaving it behind and leaving any frustrations behind, so that you can fully focus on the next race or practice session, whatever it may be. So I'm sure these guys now, they'll all be thinking about the next one already, and yeah, it's important to use maybe what went well in that race for them and also what didn't, and try to use that for the next one.
Now, I know you came into this broadcast as we'd already got underway for the racing, but we've still seen together quite the amount of track action. What are your impressions of the level of these drivers? Remember, the one that you're racing is the real world in sim. What David races in, is professional esports. These are just guys that have qualified from home.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these guys are extremely experienced in esports stuff already, and yeah, the level's incredible. I mean, I've had a little bit of experience with some pro esports stuff, but normally I'm very much feeling like the amateur driver, which is a bit different for me, because normally in real life I'm the pro. So yeah, it's definitely a bit different. Normally, if I'm with less than 1 second from David, then I'm pretty happy. Whereas, yeah, I wouldn't be very happy with that today in qualifying. So no, it's really interesting. The level's super high. These guys, you know, they put in a lot of effort, and their skills are there to see. So yeah, we can see some great action today.
Yeah, it's been some superb racing, David, from all the drivers in the hardest conditions. And let's take a quick look at the finishing order. Maciej Malinowski, as we saw, was a dominant winner at the front of the field, just ahead of Carl Janssen in second place. Andre Miato played the strategic game, and that paid off very nicely with a third position, the bottom step of the podium. Dario Yamulo finished in fourth place with some late charges. William Pisano in fifth. Nikodem Sobchak finished in sixth position, just ahead of Simone Seminara. Florian Durkop in eighth. They changed places right at the end of the race. Pavlo Pavlychuk in ninth place, and Tinko van der Velde steals in for the final point. Philippi finishes 11 outside of the points. Jack Noller in 12th position. Finn Kelpers in 13th place ahead of Stefano Bonsignore, and then Ruslan Kamidulin, in 15th position. We have 23 starters in this race. Of course, we saw an early retirement for Michael Romagnoli. There he is in 23rd. But Marco Lomi crossed the line in 16th. Michele Pirella, position 17th. Corrado Ciriello in 18th place. Florian Schiesel will be very disappointed indeed to cross the line in 19th. We know he is an incredibly quick driver. Leonardo Porco in 20th place. Connor McGowan 21st, and Amos Lorito, who was, unfortunately, David, pretty much the punching bag throughout this race. Everybody contact that we saw on track, it seemed to be on the back side or front of Amos Lorito's car.
Yeah, we saw he also scored the fastest lap time, and he had the pace. It's very unfortunate because you know, when you are trying to get position to get back to the top, it's easy to get in a contact and stuff that happens, unfortunately.
And that's the problem, isn't it, Sandy, that if you're not at the front of the field, you are inevitably in the pack, and you've got cars in front and behind. You can get wrapped up in other people's incidents so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not always your fault in terms of if you get a bit of damage here and there, and then that can really affect the rest of your race as well with your straight line speed or the handling of the car. So, yeah, the next qualifying session is definitely going to be extremely important, especially for both guys who have done well in this race. They'll be looking to consolidate that with another nice qualifying, which will put them in a really strong position going into the race. But equally, the guys who are sort of in the chasing pack, maybe on the edge of the top five, if they can grab a pole position, then it puts them back in the fight as well. So there's still a lot to play out, and will be exciting.
David, is it easier having done one race and knowing what you've got to do in the second race, or is that more pressure because you've got a target that you can win or lose against?
It's easier because you've got a lot of information, and what usually happens in this esports race is that you train at home, so you just know the lap times of maybe your teammate or your friends, but when you get here, it's where you actually get to know the lap times that other drivers are doing. Now that you already raced, you already know what the level is. And going into the next race, you already know, okay, that's the driver to beat. Oh, that driver might be faster than me, and you have a lot of information also, as Sandy was saying, about how the race went, and you know where to improve yourself and where you can beat someone in the track.
Yep. So there'll only be a few more moments, then we'll go back into the racing session for the next 15-minute, the final 15 minutes qualification session. Some highlights on screen of what has been, it's fair to say, a pretty spicy race for all concerned. And in these weather conditions, David Tinitza, with the level of quote-unquote experience of these drivers, many of whom are in an arena environment for the first time, any standout drivers from your point of view during that race?
Well, I think all of them, they all did a very good performance. Of course, Malinowski winning the first race, it looks like it's the one to beat, but for me, Michael Romagnoli still has something to show because, of course, he got the pole position. It was very unfortunate from him. We saw he was going too hard with the downshifts, and he blown up the engine. But looks like now it's going to be a dry race, so maybe he will confirm himself, and he will probably, I don't know, start in the front again, hopefully.
Yeah, but it's very difficult now for Romagnoli. How do you pick yourself up as a driver, Sandy? You qualified on the front row of the grid, retired before even you turned the wheel for the first time. You know that realistically that first place in the championship's impossible now.
Yeah,
how do you pick yourself up?
Yeah, it is virtually impossible with the level. You know, more than likely someone's going to score some more points in this one. So yeah, for him now, I guess the pressure's off now, so he can just go and enjoy it and try and do another good qualifying and show his capabilities and what he can do. So that's the mindset that he needs to go into this now. There's no pressure, just go for it, try and do the same again, qualify high up. And yeah, he'll be looking to try and get a win and show everyone that he deserves to be up there.
And on that topic, of course, David, this is the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports European Regional Final. So they're racing for the prize to join the Lamborghini Esports team. But it's also an international broadcast and competition. There are a lot of eyes on today. So yes, our winner will join you potentially in Lamborghini. But there are going to be movers and shakers in the industry watching this broadcast. So the likes of Romagnoli, this is a test of his character now, isn't it? He wants to go in there and put a good performance because you don't know what opportunities that may present him further down the road.
Of course, you said it right. Potentially will join the team because, of course, all the drivers that are racing here might get a chance maybe in Lamborghini, maybe somewhere else. You said it yourself. There is a lot of eyes and you can get many opportunities here just by showing your talent and how good you are at the sim.
And the mental game, Sandy, you know this very well. The mental game of a racing driver is half of the key to unlocking performance, isn't it? How you recover from adversity, how you pick yourself up and continue charging or maintain a certain level of performance. And that's a big ask for these guys that are not the professionals to employ those tactics and go forward again into the heart of battle.
Absolutely, especially when the pressure's on. You know, it's all good and well racing at home, but when you're in the arena environment, like you say, it's probably the first time for quite a few of the drivers in this kind of environment. And we're seeing more and more esports competitions going back into the arena environments now after the kind of COVID spell, everything was at home. So yeah, this is a really good place to be able to show your potential in when the pressure's really on, because I'm sure the heart rates are going to be a little bit higher than when you're at home. So yeah, it's definitely a good place to show what you can do.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see then how these drivers undertake this next 30-minute race. Excuse me. But just to reiterate, it's a 15-minute qualifying session that we're going into in a few moments' time. That'll be followed by another 30-minute race, and just like we've seen, the paying points out, 16 for a win, 12 for second, 10 for third, 8 for fourth, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. If you're a third or fourth place finisher last time around, do you look to repeat that one, or do you want to go for the victory to secure the championship? What I'm getting at is, at the end of today, is consistency going to win the title, or do you need to take the flag first?
I think with the way the points is kind of set out, it's definitely a big advantage to be in the top 1 or 2 in the race. So I'm sure the guy, you know, if you're in P4, 5, 6 at the moment, you're probably looking to really try and win the next race to give yourself a good chance of P1. So yeah, I'm sure those guys are definitely going to be pushing for P1, and they'll be giving it all they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, everybody at home as well, you can win big prizes here in the Lamborghini Esports Series. We can see now the final prize, which is here at the Nürburgring. This is the final event, is a VIP experience. So we've been giving away vouchers all the way through the championship, a €300 and a €150 voucher to spend in the Lamborghini shop. That is for drivers and that is for fans. Scan the code, have a chance of winning. You can get a voucher for absolutely nothing. In the North American Championship final, regional final on the 2nd of September, there are vouchers to be won. Same for the Asia Pacific region on the 6th of September. And then this grand finale, if you've been registering, if you've been scanning for a chance to win, you'll go into a draw for a VIP experience day at the Lamborghini factory and museum alongside those vouchers that you could have won. Money can't buy experience, access behind the scenes, the ability to be able to see the inner workings of such a famous, such a popular brand around the world. Scan to win. That's all you got to do, chaps. Easy as that, costs nothing. Enjoy your broadcast, us waffling, go away with something great.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. So make sure you do it, because we've only got one race left to go. So you're running out of opportunities to have that chance to win. Now, chaps, we're thinking it's going to be dry. I say we're thinking that, not because I'm psychic, because I've looked over my shoulder and I've seen it's dry in the guys practicing. Different tactics, David Tanitsa. We've had rain last time. What do you do differently coming into a dry sesh?
Well, of course, now they need to take advantage of this few minutes of free practice, because when you do 30 minutes of race and 15 minutes of qualifying in rain conditions, of course, you need to reset yourself and you need to find the limit again, because you don't have much time and you don't want to find that limit in qualifying. So, of course, you need to get used to it immediately, and then in qualifying, of course, try to pull the maximum out of the car and then starting the race.
How hard is it then? in sim racing to reset yourself so quickly? Because obviously you guys don't get it in the real life because weather doesn't work like that. But in sim racing, we can go from glorious baking sunshine to torrential rain and back again in a flick. So David, how hard is it to recondition the mental side of things?
I wouldn't say it's hard. I would say it's tricky because when you switch from rain condition to dry condition, the problem is that you have a lot of potential. Like the car, of course, is going faster and faster. So the problem there is to find again the limit. Meanwhile, the other way around, from dry conditions to wet conditions. Of course, you need to. It's a bit trickier because you need to see where the water is standing, how much water there is, where the grip is. So I would say between the two of them, it's harder to switch from dry to wet. But you know, when you have time, it's not a problem. You have 20, 30 minutes. You just reset yourself. When you just have like 10 minutes, it's you have to be very, very focused and get the limit immediately.
And we've got less than 3 minutes to go until we go in green in qualifying. And Sandy, do you prefer wet weather, dry? You come from Scotland, of course you prefer wet weather. It's all you get.
Yeah, everyone always says I should be used to it. So yeah, normally it doesn't faze me. I like both. It always makes qualifying a bit more interesting if it's in the wet, because maybe if it stops raining and it starts to dry out, then you want to be the last person on the track. But equally, if it starts raining even heavier, then you want to bank a lap early. So the tactics kind of go out the window. You just have to drive flat out and see what happens. So it's going to be interesting. I think this race and qualifying session especially is going to be interesting because it's really going to be about who can adapt fastest back into their dry driving style, because you know the car will react much quicker when you're turning in. The braking points are all completely different, and you know the level's so high that if you're just missing that last 2 or 3 tenths from not being quite into the dry rhythm, you could find yourself well down the order compared to where you should be. So
well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. 2/10 of a second, that's what? 2/10 of a second, it's nothing in real terms, but on a sim, on a track, in a level of competition like this, that's the difference between pole and being 15th. And we saw that in race 1. If you're 15th or outside the top 10, you're in the danger zone. Coming into the arena complex at the start of the lap is a pinch point for the cars. That's where we know in ACC, you attract a little bit of damage. You've got no chance then. You're carrying that all the way. You're losing the top speed, the handling, the tyre wear, and it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's crazy to see these gaps because, as you were saying, like you say, okay, it's 2 tenths, it's literally nothing, but in this field, it's a lot. When, like, to us sim drivers, when you say, oh, I went 2 tenths lower than pole position, we were like, I'm so damn slow. Like in real life, it would be, damn, I'm very close to the top step of the qualifying race or whatever it is. So it's a big difference between real life and
but that's what we want to find. The whole idea, as well as entertaining you good folks at home, of this competition, is to find the next superstars for the Lamborghini Automobile Esports team. It needs to be difficult. It needs to be, you know, you've been through this process before. It needs to be hard. It needs to be the best of the best. And every variable that we can throw at these drivers, including being in this arena, including the weather, including the pressure, that is what you need, isn't it? To really find out who is capable of delivering when the moment comes.
It's perfect indeed, because the car is very tricky to drive. We saw that we had one rainy session which showed the potential in rain conditions. Now we have dry conditions, few times between the session to adapt. It's literally the competition to see how every driver reacts as much as they can.
Right then, gentlemen, get yourselves comfortable. Folks at home, get yourselves sat down. Make sure you've been for a loo break and you've got your refreshments, because we are going racing. Again, qualification has opened. There's 14 minutes of the 15-minute session left on the clock. Pretty much everybody has dived out of the pit straight away, keen to get a feel of the conditions, as you say, get a banker lap on the board and just give themselves the best opportunity possible to go forward in this race. And what's the tactic? Go from the off or wind up the performance as the session unfolds? What play is at stake here?
Well, usually what I do in a 15 minutes qualifying session is that the first run I want to set every time, also the first lap, which usually it's slower because of the tire temperatures and pressures. I still want to get that lap. And because, you know, I want to have a good first run so that I'm safe and I can push for the second one, I can send it all. And I think these guys are going to do the same, because I guess it's a popular technique to do. I don't know if it's the same in real life.
Yeah, I think with a 15-minute session, these guys are, rather than feel for the whole session, they'll most likely split it into two and get kind of 2 bites at the cherry. The tyre wear is not super high around here, so you might see some guys doing different things. Maybe they'd rather just get into the rhythm and keep going lap after lap. But yeah, I think a lot of the drivers are going to be splitting this into two. So it's all about getting a good banker in the first one and then really pushing in the second run to try and pull yourself as high up that leaderboard as you can.
Now, you made a good point, Sandy, there about the tyre wear not being particularly high, and that's a question ACC specific I want to throw to David. Is there any benefit from running light, coming in, getting some new boots on, coming back out again, or do you fill for the session and circulate? What's the usual process?
The usual for 15 minutes qualifying, it's like Sandy was saying, it's you usually divide it into 2 runs. That's mainly because maybe if you just do 1 run, you can find yourself more comfortable. But of course, you have a slower tire and you have more fuel load, so the car will be slower. So even if you're going faster, the car still is slower. So usually in sim racing, you just do 1 bunker lap and then 2 flying laps, and then you just go back to the pits and go again.
Yep, so we'll find out. We're still waiting for the first representative time across the board. That'll give us an indication of exactly how much quicker the racing surface is compared to what we saw in the torrential rain of qualifying for race 1. There's a few drivers. There's Philippi has a yellow flag against his name, so he's had some kind of drama out there on the racetrack. Immediately goes back into pit lane. So Sobchak and Philippi are our 2 drivers not currently setting a time out on the circuit. We're riding on board with Michael Romagnoli at this moment in time. He's first on the timing screen but hasn't set a representative time yet. Marco Lomi just ahead will be the man that's the first across the line, I'm pretty sure. As again, great shots of Romagnoli over his shoulder. The first time is about to be set. Lomi has set that one at 55.5. Romagnoli a 56.007. Malinowski behind as well, a 56.147. The times are coming in thick and fast, but at the moment Marco Lomi is the man off of the marks first. And David, it's interestingly, Lomi and Romagnoli straight down pit lane for a new set of tyres, so they're doing quite the opposite. An out lap, a fast lap, and in she comes.
It might happen also that they are checking the tire pressures, because after 1 or 2 laps you notice that the tire pressure are too high or too low, so you just want to go back to the pits and switch, because you are just you see that you are slower because of this, and of course you want to change tires immediately and change also something in the setup.
So far it is still Marco Lomi, the fastest driver in qualification. 10 drivers have set their time. McGowan is the slowest at this moment in time, 3.3 away from the ultimate pace. So that is not a representative time, realistically, for car number 21. Romagnoli in 3rd position. Seminara moves up into 5th place, 9/10 of a second. 1 second, in fact, covers our top 6 drivers. Amos Larito sets a time and immediately goes to pit lane as well in 6th position. Kamadulin coming back out again on the racetrack, having set his banker good enough for 7th, but 1.1 away from pole. I fear that will go down significantly as this session unfolds, as we've got 9 minutes, 40 seconds left on the clock. We're looking there at car number 1, I think that is, in screen, and that's a beautiful looking livery as well on that Lamborghini. You see that one coming in the mirror. That is Maciej Malinowski, the man of the moment yesterday. Malinowski 4th on the grid, but he's trending for a faster lap, 3/10 almost. Coming into the chicane, slightly conservative over the curves to the final corner. Dab of the brakes, keep the car nice and tight, looking for the opportunity to pick up the throttle as early as possible. Maciej Malinowski is going to set the first of the quick times here in this session, goes into 2nd place. So Marco Lomi, the final sector for Lomi, was outstanding, and Malinowski doesn't have it yet.
Yeah, it's looking like Lomi's got a really nice gap at the front. It's pretty close in behind between the top, between P2 and P5. So that's a really solid banker for him. But I'm sure we're going to see, as everyone gets back into the dry condition rhythm, they're going to get faster and faster. And it looks like quite a few of these guys are going for the kind of low fuel option. In the sim, it's quite a nice luxury. You can take out the fuel pretty quickly if you want to. So yeah, it looks like some of these guys, like you said, are just going for the 1 flying lap, so they'll be running as close to 0 as possible on the fuel when they cross the line, so that they're not carrying any more weight than they need. So yeah, it's interesting to see the different tactics of the different drivers here.
And it's such a high pressure tactic as well, that one, isn't it? Because one snatch brake or missed apex, or even just wandering a little bit wider than optimal, you can't afford to give that kind of time up, and then you've got to exit, you've got to do an outlap again, and you're swallowing time in what's only a 15-minute session. It's quite the risky strategic move, that one, David.
And you know what? We always, all the time, have a problem in ACC, depending on the tracks. It's because when you approach the final corner, every time you have to do a choice. You have to think like, do I finish this lap and compromise the next one? Because you say, okay, you will lose like 0.030, and you will say, but it's nothing. Yeah, but it can be 3 positions. So every time you go to the final sector, you have to think like, do I go for another lap or just close this one and compromise the next one? And this is something that it's also very risky, because if you don't finish that lap because you think you can do a faster lap and then you make a mistake, it's done.
Jim, speaking of mistakes, Conor McGowan went wide there through the chicane, caught the gravel on the outside, he's backed off very gentlemanly to allow the faster car through, to not compromise another driver's session. But McGowan under a little bit of pressure, it has to be said. Currently still the slowest of the 14 drivers that has set a time, and this is massively exciting times in ACC, a fantastic platform, the official simulation of the SRO GT World Challenge Europe Series. This, of course, is the official cars of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Championship in real life, as Nikodem Sobchak just goes quickest with a wonderful 155.425. So good time for Sobchak. Throws it onto the provisional front of the grid, a 10th up on Marco Lome.
Yeah, it's an interesting lap because he's not purple in any of the 3 sectors, but he's just managed to be very close to it in all of them and hook up a really solid, smooth lap. So he's now got a solid banker in, and he'll be looking to try and improve 1 or 2 more tenths. As we see, Lome goes back to the top again by less than a tenth. So once again, showing how close it is at the top.
Yeah, great stuff. Great driving by Marco Lome as well. He's putting a bit of a mark down against his rivals. And if Maciej Malinowski, who, by the way, is in pit lane, stays outside of those top 3 or 4 positions, this has opened up the championship charge come race day for the drivers that didn't get onto the podium or into the victory last time around. We're looking now on board with Carl Janssen. He's one of the drivers, remember, earlier on that was the star of the show in second position. Janssen, though, 15th at this moment in time, 1.5, nearly 1.6 seconds away from the provisional pole position. He's got work to do. 5 minutes, 40 seconds left on qualifying. There's a yellow flag out there somewhere. That one's now cleared, though, so the circuit is good to go. And Janssen has work to do. So does Seminara, that we're looking at in 11th position. Remember, he snuck into the top 5 right at the checker.
Yeah, it's looking like a few of the top finishers from the first race are not right at the top of the timesheets at the moment. So with 5 minutes to go, the pressure's on them to try and hook up a good lap. Lome's looking pretty comfortable at the top. He's done 2 runs and gone first both times with his risky 1-lap strategy. So he has clearly adapted pretty quickly back into the dry conditions. To be only doing out the pits in 1 lap is really impressive. So he'll have another 1 or 2 bites at the cherry to see if he can improve any more.
How much do you wish you had an escape button in your real world car so you don't have to do another slow lap back to the pits?
Yeah, it would be pretty nice. It's definitely, you know, worth using all these things as much as possible to try and to your advantage. So yeah, it's allowing these guys to, like I say, to go super low on the fuel, do 1 push lap and then come straight back into the pits. New tires. We're also limited on tires, whereas I guess in this session you can use 4 or 5 new sets of tires if you want to. So you're always going out on the best of the best tires and fuel loads. So yeah, everything's the same each time. They just need to try and improve, not over push, because it's very easy to do that in this car as well, and hook up a good lap.
Yeah, great stuff that we've got so far. Jack Noller in 10th position at this moment in time. We're riding on board. And David, talk us through what the car's doing through this lap, please.
Well, these corners, it's very tricky. You have to hit the curb on the inside to get the rotation done. There it's very tricky to go into the gravel because the car usually understeers a lot. And here it's, I think, the trickiest part of the track. It's the final chicane, because you have to cut as much as you can, and it's very hard because there are those 2 sausage curbs. And here as well, the braking zone, it's very hard because you have to go down from the curb and the car unsettles all the time. So you have to be very precise and yes, move on the power and just use all the carpet on the outside.
So quite conservative there for Noller through the final section of the turn. That's good enough for 10th position, but still not quite on the pace. 0.8 of a second away from provisional pole. 1 second covers our top 11 drivers. Amos Larito being the man in 11th position at this moment in time. The first of the drivers that are outside of the point scoring places when it comes to the race this straight after this qualifying session. Ciriello jumps down pit lane, Noah jumps down pit lane, but the other 21 cars are on track. And as Sandy just pointed out, Michael Romagnoli trending to almost half a second up on his ultimate lap time. This is Romagnoli now through the chicane. Look at the top left-hand corner of your screen. There you can see the half a second advantage. That's going down a little through the final corner. Try not to be too greedy on the accelerator. Well executed. A nod of approval from Sandy Mitchell alongside me as well. Can Romagnoli do it? Yes, Romagnoli can do it. That is the provisional pole position by a very healthy 0.015 seconds.
Yeah, extremely close. You could see that on the delta there. It was just over the amount that he needed to grab the pole position. Very easy in that circumstance to try and overpush the braking a little bit into the last corner and then end up losing just hardly anything, as the run to the line would have made a big difference. So yeah, great lap from him.
Yeah, fabulous stuff, and showing again that he's undeterred about the dramas that we saw in the race at the beginning of the day. A little bit deep into the chicane that we've got there for one of the, I think it's 7th places, that Seminara that we're looking at, runs deep into that final corner and tries to get the run off of the line, but only a few minutes left in this session, 1 minute 56 seconds to be precise. And Tinko van der Velde that we're looking at now. Van der Velde, David, a driver that's at the front of everything he does, 21st.
Well, as I said before, of course, we need to see how much did he practice for this, because of course he had a race yesterday, completely different car. Of course the track is the same, but you know, the differences are a lot. You know, also the car itself, it's very tricky. You need to get a lot of training to get the performance out, and this doesn't mean he's not pulling out a good performance. He probably just didn't do a single lap. This is probably his first session, who knows?
Yeah, but let's have a look there. 1.5 seconds Tinko van der Velde has to find. He's currently a few thousandths up, a couple of tenths up in fact, through the middle sector. So Van der Velde's finding lap time as he goes now. A nice, neat end to the lap is what he needs to bring himself semi into contention for the race that follows straight after this qualifying session. Remember, Michael Romagnoli is the man on pole position at this moment in time, from Marco Lome, from Nikodem Sobchak and Dario Yamulo in 4th position. Durkop currently in 5th now. We run up the hill into that tricky chicane. Both Sandy and David have said this is a danger point of the circuit. We'll be greedy on the inside curb, relatively neat on the exit, and that will hopefully for Van der Velde be good enough to improve. Now we're looking at Sobchak, I think that is, I can't quite see. Yes, Nikodem Sobchak currently in 3rd position, currently a few thousandths up. And again, it's all coming to the end of this session, isn't it? The track's ramping up and the times are starting to drop.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed earlier on, but right after the lap that Michael did, there was Marco Lomi improving. He was improving a 10th and a half, and then suddenly the delta disappeared. So he probably did a mistake, maybe in the final part of the track. It's a shame because he was getting a very nice lap. Let's see if he can make it again.
Yeah, but speaking of nice laps, Van der Velde did complete that lap in 12th position, but he's up again just on this follow-on lap. The final throw of the dice for many of these drivers. Yamulo and Durkop are in pit lane, so their day is done. So is Kamadulin in 13th position, and Porco all the way down in 18th. And Janssen, one of the biggest surprises of this session, our guy that finished in 2nd earlier on, will be at best 21st for this second race.
As we see Sobchak looking like he's going to go into pole if he can just hook up this last corner. Good exit.
Good run to the line. Nikodem Sobchak throws the dice on the final lap and comes out on top. But Marco Lome now on the charge again. Lome 0.3 of a second up, coming into the second part of this lap. The tricky downhill's hairpin. We've got the sun in our eyes as well. You've got to spot your braking zone, get on the gas nice and early, use some of that exit curb. Running up now into the chicane. So difficult in a Super Trofeo car. Uses the outside curve for the launch, runs onto the gravel. Will he get away? No, he won't. And a collective sigh from audience and panel. That was going to be a dynamite lap, Sandy.
Yeah, he was, I think, 3/10 up and only 1/10 away from pole at the time. So, it's so difficult because you literally know if you do exactly the same as you did the time before, you're going to be on pole by 1 or 2 tenths. But that's much easier said than done. So just slightly over-pushed on the entry into the Schumacher chicane there, and it's cost him in the end.
Yeah, so Felipe is another driver on a good lap at this moment in time, 8th on the grid. Where does he move up to? after that session. I was looking 5th position, so a good final throw of the dice. Qualification is pretty much over for all concerned. We have got 14 drivers, Florian Schiesel being the 14th place man, separated 15 drivers, in fact, separated by 1 second. A round of applause in the Fanatec Arena from the audience behind. And chaps, that was an incredibly tight session, 1/10 just under, covering our top 3 drivers in the championship decider.
Yeah, it's crazy also because we saw that, like Malinowski, for example, that he won the first race. Now he's in trouble. He needs to avoid any incident, every single incident at the start. And he needs to get some position if he wants to win the competition.
So let's have a look at the qualifying times. Then Nikodem Sobchak is the man on pole position from Michael Romagnoli in 2nd place. Marco Lomi lines up 3rd position just ahead of Dario Iamolo for the 2nd row of the grid. Row number 3 is Philippi and Durkot, 5th and 6th position. Maciej Malinowski, our race 1 winner, will start this race from 7th position alongside Simone Seminara in 8th. Jack Nolla recovers inside the top 10 for 9th position, just ahead of Andre Miato. Miato 3rd in the race that preceded this one, 10th and with work to do. William Pisano lines up 11th place ahead of Tinko van der Velde. Ruslan Kamaludin in 13th place. Florian Schiesel is 14th and Pavlo Pavlychuk 15th position. Stefano Bonsignore, a quiet weekend so far, in 16th, ahead of Amos Larito, another big name all the way down the running order. Leonardo Porco in 18th. Vin Kuipers in 19th position, ahead of Corrado Ciriello. Carl Janssen, probably the biggest shock of the session, in 21st, ahead of Michele Pirella. And Conor McGowan rounds out our field. So, you're Carl Janssen, you finished 2nd earlier, feeling pretty good about life, and you're outside the top 20.
Yeah, it's a big shocker for him now. But once again, the pressure's off now. He's got to just go for it and go full attack mode. Maybe hope that a few guys in front of him come to a bit of grief and he can climb back into the points contention. But yeah, I was saying earlier that it's maybe some guys who are going out to win the races that are going to be P1 after both races. But it's looking like this qualifying's really mixed up the order compared to the finishing order from race 1. So maybe it could be some of the guys who are getting consistent top 3, top 4 finishes that are end up going to be at the top at the end.
And Maciej Malinowski, David, a driver you know very well and have raced against multiple times. What is he going to be thinking? 7th on the grid.
Well, as I said, you want to make a lot of positions. Otherwise, the competition is gone. You will not be the winner, but at the same time, you know that you have to be very careful because in that position, of course, everyone wants to overtake you. Everyone wants to get in front. So it's more important maybe in the first laps to stay aware of everyone on track and then try to push and get the pace done because I know that he's capable of getting those positions back.
Yeah, it's a good point David makes because as the winner of race 1, you maybe have a target on your back now because everyone wants to beat you to try and gain those points over the person who's currently got the most points. So he's going to have to soak up all that pressure, stay out of trouble in P7, which is right in the middle of the pack where everyone's fighting over those points positions. So that's not going to be easy.
Massive, massive pressure. A hush descends upon the Fanatec Arena almost as everybody is very well aware that this is going to be a very big race indeed. Sandy has just given me a quick handshake. He's got to get off and go and do things in the real world because rumour has it there's some GT3 cars floating around out there on the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit and Sandy's got to go race them. So big thanks to Sandy Mitchell for joining us here. Back to David Tanitsa and myself. We're walking down the grid in virtual form, looking at some of the, I wouldn't say stress, David's probably unfair, but certainly anticipation on the faces of these drivers.
Well, of course, you can tell a lot by looking at the faces of the drivers because sometimes, people, you can see the expressions, you can already tell what they are thinking. Some of them, you just have no clue because, I don't know, they are lost in their minds. But as you said, some of them you can already see the anxiety and the pressure from their expressions.
You can indeed. There is Florian Schiesel just having a quick look on his computer, make sure everything's all up and running. He's heard his name mentioned over the tannoy, so he has a quick look to see who's looking there. Pavlo Pavlychuk, that we're looking at as well. Car number 7. That is the brown, green and white Lamborghini to the left-hand side of your screen. And do you have routine's probably the wrong word, but do you have a process that you go through in these moments before the race takes place?
I don't have a schedule, if that's what you mean, but usually in these moments of waiting, I try to distract myself with the team. Of course, first thing we get the fuel done, like the strategy. We schedule everything for the race, and then when we have everything done, I try to distract myself with the team, talking about other stuff, like hyping ourselves, like, okay, let's get this position at the start, let's make it, so that this 5 minutes passes very rapidly, and you get immediately to the formation lap.
Yeah, because this is the time when you can get inside of your own head a little bit, can't you? For better or for worse, and you can become your own worst enemy. When you've got time on your hands, that's when you start to ponder life and what might go wrong or what might go well, isn't it?
The thing is overthinking, because when there is a lot of time and you're literally not doing anything, you can start overthinking. You can be like, oh no, now this driver is going to push me wide, or now, what if I don't make it to overtake, what if someone pushes me wide? And that's what you don't want to do, because you have to distract yourself, think, okay, I'm going to make it, and don't overthink.
Right, well, the time for thinking is pretty much over for these drivers, because as you can see on your screen, the formation lap has begun. Just like we saw in the race a few moments ago, we will do a formation lap to the grid, and then it will be a rolling start. When that light goes green, there will be 30 minutes and just a singular opportunity for each and every one of these drivers to leave a lasting impression on this championship. And I want to take a moment, David, while we're on this formation lap, to thank Lamborghini for putting on such a competition and the opportunity to realistically change the life of these drivers, and for the men and women behind the scenes from AK Esport that make this happen, the leader pretty much in the world of esport racing. They've put in this event on, they put the races together, the cars, the drivers, the event organisation, the staff, the building of the Fanatec Arena. So it really is fabulous to be a part of this process and to see how sim racing has the power to change lives.
It is indeed, because every time I get here to the arena for the Sim Pro, for the GT Pro, for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Esports race here, it's amazing. Every time you see more and more races, like here we have the arena, we are trying to use it for as many competitions as possible, and it's great, because we used to have just one race here in the weekend with the real drivers. Now we have literally 3 races in the same weekend, and it's great.
Yeah, it really is fantastic. It's a great opportunity. It's a great time to be involved in sim racing. So a massive shout out to Lamborghini and to AK Esports for making this all possible, and for you folks at home, the opportunity that you can have to win a 300 or a 150 euro voucher by scanning the QR code that periodically pops up on your screen. The more times you scan, the more chances you've got of winning the grand prize of a VIP Lamborghini experience in Italy to get into the heart and behind the scenes of the world of Lamborghini. The audience are there in the final. Give me a cheer, audience. Give us a cheer. Yes, there we go. You're on telly. So there we go. The audience now anticipating and waiting. There's nerves. You can feel it in the air, David, can't you? Not just from the drivers, from everyone. This is go time.
Yeah, you can feel it from the silence, because when there is silence, you can feel that there is pressure and there is tense, and we're actually feeling it. I'm looking at the drivers. For example, Michael here starting in the front row. I can already see that he's going to be shaking at the start, because he wants to get that position and, of course, get the win that he lost in the first race in the first corner.
Yeah, absolutely. We started today in quite a jovial mood. Everybody was a little bit bantery, a little bit fun and games, and there's some shouting and some cheering. But now the pressure has descended. So let's have a look for one final time this year, one final time today, who is going to come away as the overall champion of the real race, Super Trofeo Esports. Nikodem Sobchak is your man on pole position, car number 13. The car in focus is Michael Romagnoli. Last time, he made it away from the line, but not through the first corner. Will it be second time lucky for the Italian driver? Can Marco Lome, the man of the moment in qualifying, do anything from third position? Those questions will be answered as we go green for the second and final race of the Super Trofeo Esports Esports immediately. Sobchak and Romagnoli are squabbling over racetrack and tarmac for the run down into T1. Further back, Marco Lomi trying to find a way past as well. Everybody's hard on the brakes, trying to avoid contact. Light contact in the middle of the pack, but no harm, no foul there at the front of the field. Sobchak, Romagnoli and Lomi as one, trying to find an early advantage. There is Nikodem Sobchak. There is Dario Yamulo that has found himself in the middle of it as well. Sobchak currently in third position. In second is Romagnoli, and Yamulo has stole through for an early race lead. Sobchak and Romagnoli again side by side, again give each other racing room. Sobchak to the outside, Romagnoli gets the deal done, and already this is a much better race for the Italian than we saw a few moments ago.
Yeah, very nice first corners. Few contacts, no accident happened, and it was very clean, and everyone was very aware of each other. Very fantastic first corners.
Yep, nice bit of driving from all concerned, as we've seen now the squabble further down the running order. That is car number 16, William Pisano, currently in the top 10. Jack Noller just ahead of him in 9th position. Andrea Miato not in the races at this moment in time. Further back, Lights run wide over the gravel, but just about managed to survive. That's going to compromise Pisano as everybody tries to find a way past car number 4 to the outside of Simone Seminara. Seminara gets the wiggle on, manages to bring the car back on the racetrack nice and safely, but plenty of drama at the front of the field. Florian Durkop's had a good race start. He's up into 5th.
Oh, what a race start from Dario. It's like very opportunistic, as we see here. Very nice fight. Very opportunistic, very nice first corners. He really achieved to get the position that he wanted to achieve at the start.
The big winner, though, is Maciej Malinowski. So Malinowski, first and foremost, stayed out of trouble, and he's made places up off the start as well. We'll find out when they cross the line, and the timing screen updates himself exactly how far up the running order he has gone, as we're looking at Andrea Mato in 12th. And there is Malinowski going for the dive. Not one, but 2 cars collected in that move. Very untidy from Maciej Malinowski, managing to play a bit of pinball there. Stays out of trouble, but that is not ideal for Maciej Malinowski.
Yeah, we will see with the race direction what will happen, because of course it was a very nice move in the inside, but he was 3 wide, so we'll see what the race direction will think about it, because of course he's fighting for the championship. He can either win or get a penalty for this.
And that's the problem, isn't it? You've got to be so careful in a championship contention. You need to be faultless. Give the stewards, which we've got live stewards behind us, absolutely no reason to investigate and penalise you. It's a 30-minute race. You get a penalty. There's no right of appeal. It is day done, and that is risky from Maciej Malinowski.
Well, of course, he had to take the risk, because as we said before the race, if he wants to win, he has to take the risk. But sometimes, of course, when this stuff happens, you need to, be careful. And we'll see if the move was clean and fair, or if he will get a penalty.
So look at the concentration on the face of Maciej Malinowski, currently running in 4th position. Marco Lomi and Michael Romagnoli as one into the chicane. Romagnoli does not stop anywhere near on his mark, as he has to go to the outside of the racetrack, recovers position again, so Lomi lives to fight another day. Romagnoli still just ahead of Jack Noller in 7th, but Dario Yamulo is your race leader from Nikodem Sobchak. Florian Durkop, Drake start into 3rd, and championship protagonist and hopeful and race 1 winner Maciej Malinowski, that we're looking at on screen, is currently in 4th, as Simone Seminara into the chicane there. David gets a elbows out, it has to be said.
Yeah, of course there it's very tricky to attack, but also to defend, so it's not a place where you usually see a side-by-side, but right now we are looking at Dario that is already pulling a gap. He's already 1 second from the P2. If he managed to pull up, I think here there was, it kind of looked like the car didn't brake at all. Maybe there is some issues, because it didn't look like someone who just went too deep.
Yeah, that was a big hit. That is Kamadulin. He was running inside the top 10. He's now dropped down. I dare say that's going to be a retirement before too long when all's said and done. But big contact, couple of cars he collected there. Missed who that was on the live pictures. Hopefully we'll see a replay of that one as the race unfolds. But now we're focusing on Andrea Miato in 11th position. Stefano Monsignore ahead. So they're fighting for position. Leonardo Porco further down as well makes his way past. That is Kamadulin's back on the track actually. So good recovery. So maybe whatever dramas that was have resolved themselves.
way more fights compared to the previous race, and of course it's because it's dry conditions, so it's easier to attack, but as we are seeing right now, it's also easier to make contacts. But so far, very enjoyable race. Like, we are looking at very, very, very nice overtakes.
Absolutely. Cirello that we're looking at there now, he's just got past Pavlo Povlichuk. So Povlichuk, one of the stars of the qualification, all the way down the running order. Tinko van der Velde is in a Lamborghini sandwich, doesn't like the top cover, so throws it away. That is dispossessed. One of, I think, Seminara, that may have been that got you pushed out of the racetrack. So Tinko van der Velde, he's recognised the fact that the pressure is on and we're running out of time and opportunity, and getting aggressive in that number 22. The next man up the road is Seminara, in fact. So Simone Seminara is trying to hold off Tinko van der Velde, who's trying to get into the top 10 and score those points for himself as this race is unfolding very nicely. And David, like we predicted, final race, final 20 minutes, it's go time now.
Yeah, it looks like everyone is furious, literally. Everyone is very aggressive because they want these overtakes, they want to get the position, and we are looking also a dive through from McGowan. I don't know if he made an incident at the start or just he positioned himself not correctly. This I still don't know, but first penalty of the race.
Yep, so drive through for McGowan. That's going to be end of his day, and also end of the day is Kamadulin, who goes into retirement. We saw him having the dramas on the first corner, and that is the end of his day as well. So the wild card driver from the Abu Dhabi and Dubai dealer network into retirement, drive through for causing a collision for McGowan, and that's contact between himself and car number 17, which is Michele Pirella, currently up in 15th position. There is Michele Pirella having a quick look at the grass, but getting it back on the racetrack just in time.
Look how everyone is trying to be opportunistic. Like, someone makes a mistake, boom, immediately he wants to, they all want to overtake, because that's the chance that you get in this track. You cannot prepare for an overtake, you just have to take the mistake from the others.
Yep, you've got to go for it when the opportunity presents itself. The races are short, the rewards are very high indeed. Nikodem Sobczak is the man with the fastest lap of the race so far in second position, only 0.7 of a second away from Dario Yamulo. Now, whether he's doing the mental maths as to if this is going to give him the championship or not, I am not sure, but Sobczak, you've got to go for it, haven't you, David? You've got to go for it, just like Andrea Miato is going for it now.
Yeah, and it looks like he has the pace, so he can close up the gap, and then maybe when he's close, he can think about the overtake. He's probably thinking also all the standings in his head. He will decide if he managed to close the gap.
Yeah, and how drivers do that one, do the mental maths while driving. I have no idea what the standings are. I'm praying that someone's going to whisper in my ear towards the end of the race to even give me a clue. And these drivers are racing, fighting, and doing the maths. Is it enough? Do I need more? We're looking at Marco Lomi now. It's definitely not enough for Marco Lomi. He was rapid in qualifying, but now outside the top 10. Andrea Miato in the bright pink machine takes the inside line and the position, so that's a good move for Miato. Lomi is going to get pushed out wide if he's not too careful here in this little battle pipe outside of the points.
But many overtakes. I'm telling you, I wouldn't expect to see all these overtakes from the previous race. And I have to tell you about what we were saying before, all the standings that you have in your head during the race. It's very hard to make, you know, all the calculations, because, for example, when this stuff happens, that you have a different driver that you didn't see in the race before, you don't know where they scored, like how many points they scored, and it's different. It's very hard to do all these calculations meanwhile you're driving.
And of course, unlike when you're racing, you've got the team and the engineer and everybody behind you. This is a solo championship. This is just the drivers on their own. They don't have support in their ear with somebody working out the gaps, working out the strategy. This is get in the car, go as fast as you can pedal it possible, and at the end, let's see what works out. And I think for me, David, surely the tactic for everybody here, like you say, because it's a slightly mixed up second grid, you've just got to take every single place and hope it's enough. You can't hold back, because imagine not fighting for the win and losing it by a point.
Exactly. Imagine you are like standing in P2, not overtaking the P1, and then after the race you discover that you just needed that position to win the championship. It's, of course, you need to take every possibility and try to attack every time. You cannot back up.
You really do. Amos Larito is the man that would love to be in an attacking position, but at the moment he's on the defensively now. Porco behind, trying to find a way past in the bright green machine. Larito had a difficult first race. And what's at David's point, in Nikodem Sobczak has a 5-second penalty, and Maciej Malinowski has a 10-second penalty has been applied to his time. This is massive for this championship. Two of the biggest drivers, the most successful one. Here we go. Incident between car 1, 13 and 12. A 5-second time penalty for car number 13, which is Nikodem Sobczak, for causing a collision. That will be applied, of course, to his time at the end of the race in 20 minutes' time as Marco Lomi tries to find a way past. But that is huge. And Malinowski, David, who won yesterday, 10 seconds to his time, that could even shunt him out of the points.
Yeah, that's huge, because now there is 20 minutes to go, and it's literally 10 seconds penalty. It's impossible to pull a gap. I think his chances of winning the championship are already gone, and maybe Dario will be the champion looking at the standings, because you know his P1 is getting a lot of points, but yeah, the race is ruined for both of them, unfortunately, for this penalty.
Yeah, we've got more than a fair share of racing still to go, and here we go. Marco Lomi on the defensive. He's been pushed out wide. He left a small gap, and that small gap was filled very quickly indeed by Tinko van der Velde. So nice driving from van der Velde. There was just about enough room, and he filled that gap very nicely indeed. So Lomi now drops down to 12th position. The next man down the road is Amos Lorito. There is Lorito in the gold car, watching, waiting, squirreling around at the back of Lomi's machine, looking for an opportunity. Van der Velde needed to clear those cars. He's still got another place to make, though, David, to get into the points. And when it's as fluid as it is at the moment, I really don't know who's going to win this one until probably 5 minutes after the flags wave.
Yeah, and now we're looking at Marco Lomi trying to attack the car in front, and now Amos has to be very opportunistic, as we were saying before, because surely he will try and overtake, and he has to take advantage of that when it will happen.
So here is a very annoyed Maciej Malinowski. He knows he's got that 10-second penalty. Makes a good move for third position from Florian Durkop. So good pass down into the first corner. Leonardo Porco looking for the opportunity as well. Defending there from Lorito. Lorito has the outside line. If he can hold on, that will become the inside line, but not quite enough of an overlap. So Malinowski knows now. You see it, don't you, on the screen? All the information you've got, you'll see you have a penalty. So Malinowski's got no options now. Go.
Yeah, just fully send it, try to open the gap and pray at the end of the race, because you will see your position just at the end, because you have, of course, all the real-time gaps with the other drivers, but you will see just when you cross the line, like the real position you will see just after that.
At least in one way for Maciej Malinowski, it's easy, because he knows he's got no options now. It's just push as hard as you can. For the next 17 minutes, I'm going to keep my eye on his lap times, but mark my words, these are going to be purple after purple after purple. That's the only chance he's got to salvage a result in this race. Is Andrea Miato now that we're looking at in 9th position. We come away from that one quickly though, because Leonardo Porco and Amos Lorito, the fight continues. Leonardo in the 15 holds on position, but Lorito, having been kicked from pillar to post in race 1, will fancy a better showing in this race and a more satisfactory conclusion to what has been a great qualifying process for him so far.
Yeah, Leonardo Porco is under pressure from Amos Lorito, which is very, very close. And at the same time, here we're looking at Marco Lomi, which is putting a lot of pressure as well to Tinko. And I think very shortly some of this duo will make an overtake, because look how close they are. And indeed,
yeah, great stuff. Marco Lomi gets the inside line, commands the inside line. Tinko van der Velde has absolutely no room to get that door closed, and that's a good overtake from Marco Lomi, one of the stars of the race at the beginning of the day, one of the stars of qualification. We're having a bit of a difficult race, it has to be said, in 11th position, although the audience certainly appreciated that overtake. As further down the field, Pavlychuk on the inside line into the hairpin. Will Janssen have enough of an overlap? No, Pavlychuk has the inside once again for this long, never-ending left-hander, and again for the third corner. But there we go, Pavlychuk almost giving it away again. In fact, is Janssen staying with him? Will they make contact? No, they won't. That's some great driving, and Carl Janssen decides, not today, my friend. I'm taking that one back.
that was great, because usually at that point you just back off, because you know you are not on the ideal line, so you know that you don't have that advantage, but he still kept the car, and then he had the advantage of the line on the next corner. It was a very nice defensive move.
Yeah, great stuff from Polovchuk and from Janssen there as we're looking now as this fight continues. Schiesel as well, very much in the fight as well. Polovchuk car number 7, Schiesel just ahead in car number 9, and then Janssen all the way to the top of this pile of races with some great race drafts. So Paolo Polovchuk still got work to do, still got an impression to make, and 14 and a half, just over minutes in which to do it.
And as we see a little bit of a contact here at the back, we were looking also at Miato getting very close to Bonsignori in front, 2 tenths just between of them. I think, now he tried to stay very close, but as I said there, because of the visibility, that corner is very tough. Already when you don't have anyone in front, and when you have a car in front that of course it's blocking the visibility, it's very tricky.
Yeah, really difficult, as yourself and Sandy highlighted in race 1. Nikodem Sobchak getting very close indeed to Dario Yamulo as well for the battle for the race lead. Remember, Sobchak will have 5 seconds applied to his race time at the checkered flag. So what Nikodem Sobchak needs to do now, more than anything in the world, is find a way past Dario Yamulo and then push like he's never pushed before. Instant involving car 1 and 13 and 12. A 5-second penalty for car number 13 for causing a collision. Car number 13 is this man, Nikodem Sobchak, in second position. So contact was deemed by the stewards to have been the driver's fault.
In this situation, what some driver would do is to let the driver behind go, because they have a penalty in this case. But you know, as a driver, even if the driver behind has a penalty, you still want to be the first one to cross the finish line, even though you are already going to win the race. And as we are looking right now, I think it's the case of Dario Yamulo, because he wants to stay in front regardless of the penalty.
But the risk factor for Yamulo as well, if he lets Sobchak go and then Yamulo makes a mistake, runs wide, goes over the grass and suddenly drops 5.5 seconds behind, it's Sobchak's race, and you do not want to be going home on the plane reflecting on why you let that car pass.
Yeah, that's a big risk, and of course every lap that he stays in front, it's of course another lap that the driver behind won't be able to open a gap in case he will overtake him. So of course you just have to see how aggressive the driver behind is, because if you see that he's very aggressive, he wants to overtake you, maybe it's better to let him go. But if he's clean and fair, just race.
So as things stand at this moment in time, and there is 12.5 minutes still to go, if the checkered flag drop now, Nikodem Sobchak will drop down to 3rd position. He's just ahead of Michael Romagnoli. Florian Durkop now, we're having a little bit of a squabble as well. That's not going to help the progress of Romagnoli ahead. So it's not too bad for Sobchak at this moment in time. 10-second time penalty, by the way, for car number 21, which is McGowan. Not having a great day is McGowan at this moment in time, down in 22nd. Another time penalty for good measure. So while Durkop and Romagnoli are fighting for position, that's really helping Sobchak ahead, isn't it? Because they're dropping further and further outside of that penalty window.
Yeah, I mean, for him it's crucial to get past and keep opening this gap, because as we are looking right now, they are losing time, and I see that now Michael lost the position. But yeah, as you said, it's crucial for him to get past, and it will probably be enough, this 5 seconds of gap to stay still in front of these guys that we're looking right now.
So there we go now, Nikodem Sobchak, the man that we were speaking about. We're back with him again. This is the fight for the race lead. Dario Yamulo is our race leader. Nikodem Sobchak in second position, but with that 5-second penalty, this is going to be absolutely vital for these drivers now. Can Sobchak find a way past? Can Yamulo hold on to cross the line at least in first position and give himself the best opportunity of taking this championship, and with it the opportunity to join the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team? Massive pressure on these drivers, and the body language, David, of that car as he goes a little bit sideways, does Sobchak, suggests he's not going to hold second. He wants that race lead.
Yeah, of course, and it's because, as I was saying before, every lap that you stay behind, it's another opportunity that fades away to open this gap, and it's crucial for him. He has to stay as close as he can and try maybe to take advantage of a little mistake that Dario probably or probably not will do to get this championship in his hands.
It nearly went very wrong indeed for Nikodem Sobczak then for the breaking down into T1. Did well to avoid the back of Yamullo's car. We saw as well that there was a time penalty for Carl Janssen down in 17th position, so his race is going from bad to worse after an outstanding opening race of the day this morning here in the Fanatec Arena. Michael Romagnoli, he had a disaster before the race even began on the run down into T1 with a blown engine, too aggressive and down the gearbox, breaking into the first corner. Much better second time around, but fifth position that promised so much, David, at the start of this race is still, it's going to hurt the Italian, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, because it's twice in a row that you start in the front row, and once you blow the engine and the other time you just lose some position at the start, it destroys you mentally, because of course you know you had the pace to probably win both of the races, but you still weren't able to perform like you wanted.
If everybody at home wants to win something, there's the QR code, scan to win, and you can potentially pick up a 300 or a 150 euro voucher to spend at the Lamborghini store and go into a prize pool for the grand final. But Michael Romagnoli is going into a prize pool for fourth position. Looks to the outside, looks to the inside. Durkop leaves the door open, tries to close it, but there's a Lamborghini in the way. Michael Romagnoli now is on a charge. Florian Durkop made a mistake. He continues to pay the price as we run up the hill into the one-by-one chicane at the top of the hill. Romagnoli doesn't have enough room, but look how sideways Durkop is. He's under pressure, he's getting messy. Romagnoli sees an opportunity, can't quite pull the pin on this occasion, but just as yourself and Sandy spoke about in the pre-show and the middle of the show earlier on, the run down into T1 is where the main opportunity lies for these drivers.
Yeah, because of course you can prepare the last corner, and then you have this very long straight, relatively long straight, because it's not that long, but then after here you can try both on the inside and the outside. It's literally the main point where you can overtake.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at Romagnoli though, he's nice and calm behind the wheel. We can see over our shoulder the Italian driver's face of focus as he's trying desperately to find a way past Florian Durkop, which in turn will keep him in the conversation to gain an advantage from Maciej Malinowski's 10-second penalty as well. So this is not just, David and everybody at home, this is not just for fourth position on the track. This is potentially keeping yourself in the window for a podium place, which is a very different proposition indeed when you go home at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course it is, and it's part of the race, you know, when there is all these fights, and of course, like, probably Malinowski with 10 seconds penalty, he won't be able to pull that gap he will lose certainly a lot of positions, but still with the 5 seconds penalty, everything is still open.
Yep, everything is still very much open. Let's take a look at a replay now of some drama that we saw befalling earlier in the race. Car number 9, that is Florian Schiesel, running deep into the chicane, just like we've discussed before. Gets a tag slapper on, and there's just no recovery, David, at that point, is there? The car's out of the control. It's just a matter of where it's going to stop. Yeah,
if you hit too much the first sausage curb, you can still get back the car, because of course you have some space on the track. If you hit badly the second one, you're done, because of course the car will be unsettled and go on to the grass like happened now, but it's better to, let's say, lose the car in the first one compared to the second one.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly what happened to Florian Durkop there. Now he's really looking ragged in these last few laps. The car's falling away from him. Romagnoli looks the more comfortable of those two drivers at this moment in time. Amos Marito that we're looking at now in 12th position in the gold car as well. And there we go. Romagnoli sends it down the inside. Does Durkop see the car there? He gives him enough racing room. Romagnoli very late to the inside. He wasn't close enough to make the move, but that is the signal of intent. Michael Romagnoli has written a letter and posted it to Florian Durkop to say, I am coming through before this checker flag falls.
And he needs to hurry up, because there is just 6 minutes to go, so of course the possibility to overtake there again will be probably 3, not more, so of course, he needs to try and take advantage of these possibilities that he's receiving right now.
But yeah, Romagnoli's got to be careful, though, to not be making shadow moves that don't have a chance, because that's just costing you time, isn't it? You're not going to unsettle Florian Durkop. You're going to have to pass him with skill. And just showing your nose at the inside, that's just costing you, isn't it?
Yeah, you just need to be smart in these cases. You need to think, okay, now I can actually try the overtake and make it done, or when it's a situation where you're not sure about your move, it's better to just back off, not lose time like you were saying, and just be smarter on the next lap.
Yep, absolutely. So we continue this fight with Michael Romagnoli in 5th position. 4th place just ahead is Florian Durkop. Durkop is looking much less comfortable in that number 2 machine than Michael Romagnoli, and now this is the run up the hill. Romagnoli has the advantage. He'll be able to carry that all the way through this flat-out right-hander into the chicane. We've highlighted the chicane before as not accorded to make an overtake. Romagnoli drops back again, concentrates on the run. Durkop very untidy once again. Don't look in the final corner, Michael. No, he doesn't. There we go. Goes wide to cut back in to get the maximum run damage off of the corner. But there's just not. They're the same car. It's so difficult to find an acceleration and that zone advantage, isn't it?
It's and also we're looking right now that in the last chicane he has an advantage. He makes it better. And now he tries a dive bomb on the inside, which he will probably close. Let's see if he makes the switchback move. He does. They make a little
secondary contact as well.
But it was a very nice move. Like, he was very late in the break, but he was still clean and fair because he left the space and then went for the switchback. Like, very nice move for both of them.
Yeah, really, really nice driver, and that's just showing that Romagnoli is becoming increasingly aware time is slipping away to take that position and potentially get that position from Malinowski. But while these two are playing bumper cars together, there we go, Durkop runs deep. That's the pass that you need if you're Romagnoli. Oh, secondary contact as well as Durkop comes back on the track, but we make it through, and round of applause, small concern. It took a long time, but he got the job done.
Yeah, I think after all those overtakes, I think it was a lot under pressure, so eventually he cracked, and that's where Michael overtook him again. It was very opportunistic again, as always.
Yeah, absolutely perfect stuff. So Romagnoli now needs to turn some of the pace that we saw into an overtake. I'm sorry, not an overtake, into extending that advantage through the final few moments of this race. David Tanitsa's going to stay with me at the conclusion of the race to interview our overall winner, and then we will do our podium ceremony. So I'm looking forward to seeing who that's going to be, because David, I don't know about you, you're a much more intelligent man than I am. I have no idea who's going to win this.
I actually don't remember exactly where Dario ended up in the first race, but I remember he wasn't very far behind, and now he's leading the first race. So I don't know, looking at the standings right now, it looks like he's winning the championship, but again, I don't know the standings, so I'm cheering for him now because, of course, he's P1, and I feel like he's going to be the one.
And I think we've seen it so many times, there's so many changes right through to the last corner in the first race that we can make the maths now, but it probably won't count when it comes to the checkered flag because things change so quickly. Stefano Bonsignore that we're looking at this moment in time in 8th position, car number 5. He's been attacked by Andre Miato. Miato has been a man that's attracted plenty of attention in this race. So far, so good for Bonsignore. And at this moment in time, I've just been told in my ear, thank you very much to Nicky, that Dario Yamulo is on course to be our champion if things stay as they are.
Well, it would be great for him because, of course, he wasn't in the fight in the first race, but now suddenly he finds himself here leading the race, and he wasn't even starting in the front row. So I think it's also unexpected from him, and I think it's a very good performance in this race too.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay out of trouble, deliver lap time consistently, don't get wrapped up in dramas that you don't need to get wrapped up into, and that will take you to the front of the pack. Consistency and speed are your friends. Florian Durkop now, the car seems to have calmed down a little bit, David, from when he was being attacked by Romagnoli, but Romagnoli's got that pace and he's starting to gap the silver machine.
Yeah, even though it's not that much faster than him, because of course the gap is not huge, but we saw from the way he was trying to attack him that he had something more. Maybe he was better with the tire wear. Maybe he's struggling a little bit right now, and that was probably the main reason of him trying to attack every single lap.
So here we go then, folks. 57 seconds left on the clock. This is on board with your race leader. He will cross the line with 50 seconds to spare. So we're going to go into the final lap, not only of today, not only of this race, but of the 2023, the real race, Super Trofeo Esports European Regional Final. One final lap for Dario Yamulo to bring home the victory and potentially David Tanitsa to become the champion, and the opportunity to be a teammate of you in the Automobile Lamborghini Esport team.
Yeah, it's crazy, all the championship, all the season, this year season, and these two races, and we are down to the final lap. He has 2.4 seconds from the driver behind. He literally cannot lose it right now. He just have to even go walking to the finish line, and he will bring home the victory.
You've been in a very similar position yourself. Talk to me about the emotions that are going through this driver's mind now in these final corners.
It's very emotional because in the final laps you start thinking about what you're going to say in the interviews after the race, what are you going through after this race is done, and of course it's still you are driving, but in your mind everything is going around, and you will realize everything after you cross the finish line.
So look at these shots now. We see the picture-in-picture. That is Dario, maximum concentration, lifting himself out of the seat slightly to get full purchase on the wheel and the brakes into the chicane. Full focus, stressed out. Look at the muscles bulging there as he's tensed up behind the wheel. This is one quick check at the rear view mirror, quick check at the timing splits behind. He knows he's under no pressure. The most difficult section of corners on the track are here. One last opportunity to throw it at the scenery, but he's in equal and more to that final chicane. Dario Yamulo for the final time breaks down into the last corner for the final time, picks up the throttle. Dario Yamulo takes the win, the wheel alive. He is the 2023 European Regional Champion of the Lamborghini, the real race Esports Series, seals it with a win. Dario Yamulo, what a drive.
What a race from him, and what a performance from him today. Both qualifyings, both races, good performance, very well deserved.
Absolutely outstanding. Nikodem Sobchak crosses the line in second position. Maciej Malinowski is the third man over the line, but don't forget time penalties will need to be applied to both of those drivers before we get the final result. Michael Romagnoli has a fighting drive to fourth position following his race one disappointment. Florian Durkop is fifth. William Pisano in sixth position. Jack Noller under the radar had a good drive to seventh overall ahead of Andrea Matteo and Stefano Bonsignore in 10th.
Well, again, a very, very nice performance from everyone, and also Amos Laurito, he took some redemption from the previous race where he had some few contacts, so he ends up P12, but now all the cameras are on Dario because he's the winner.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Dario as well. Really tight field, dry conditions. It's a more level playing field, shall we say, than the variety that the wet brings. And he showed that on the day he was the best man.
Yeah.
A great result.
Both conditions, and of course we saw already in the wet, maybe it wasn't the fastest, but still was very consistent, and in the race it was the best one because he had a very nice launch, and we saw that he managed to take P1 from the very first corners.
Yeah, absolutely. So race control are doing their deliberations now at this stage. We're going to work out what the final running order is, tot up the points, check it again, check it a third time, and then get somebody else to check it so it's not your responsibility. And only when we've done that one, we can officially confirm who the overall champion is of the Super Trofeo, the real race Lamborghini Esports Series. But David, you've been involved from afar and up close all the way through this year. A few words on this season's championship and how great it's been that Lamborghini are ever increasing their involvement in the world of virtual.
It was great, and it's a great chance from Lamborghini to give the chance to all these drivers, first of all, to come here in Germany to compete, to have fun on the qualification races, to meet up all of them here, all the experience that they had today on track, all the tours, everything that they did. It's great to see all these opportunities that Lamborghini gave to these guys, and hopefully there will be plenty and more next time, because I can't wait to look to see again another race with you here, maybe in the commentary box.
Absolutely, and of course the aim of these drivers is to win it, and it's to join the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team, of which you are very much a part of and at the forefront of. What's it like to be a works Lamborghini driver? And
Well, it's great, of course, because you are racing and working with a huge and famous brand. It's also an Italian brand, so it's even more special to me. But you know, as I always say, it's something that you can just live. It's hard to explain. You just have to get involved to see how great this thing is, and with this chance that Lamborghini is giving to everyone, more and more people and drivers are going to go through this experience.
And it's a life-changing experience and a life-changing opportunity. You get to race in the Fanatec Arena and other different esports competitions that Lamborghini are involved in. And this season's been your first season for the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team. What's it like? What's the atmosphere like within the team? New drivers, new management, new organisation. It must be an exciting place to be.
Well, the atmosphere is great, and some of the, well, I would say most of the people that work with me in Lamborghini, I already got to know them before, so it's very nice people, a very nice environment. You know, working with them, getting all the training done, coming here in the arena and getting everything together, it's special, and you know, it's stuff like this that makes your day, because you know, you come here as a family, you spend some good time with the team, and it's what it counts. Of course, after the results on track.
Absolutely, yes, exactly, after the results on track. So we're still doing the calculation at this moment in time to be exactly sure exactly who has won. So there's a lot of nervous faces. I mean, have a look around you at the desk. There's a lot of people, a lot of arms folded, a lot of scratching their heads, a lot of not quite sure exactly where we are. And this must be the most horrendously awful few minutes for anybody who thinks they've got a chance at this championship.
Yeah, of course, because I cannot hear what they're saying, but from the faces it looks like that they are trying to talk about penalties and the standings. They are probably discussing it. So yeah, as you said, it's a very bad moment, let's say, because no one is sure who won, and it's something that you want to, you know, that finishes very soon, because you want to know who the winner is, whether it's you or another driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Big pressure for all of these drivers. And what do you go through emotionally when you're in that situation?
Well, you know, it's something, I don't know how to explain it, but you just finish the race, you know that you might be the winner, but of course, when you get up from the sim, you start talking with the people. They say, look, it might not be you winning, so it's a very tense moment, and of course, in your mind, there are a lot of stuff that goes through, and you just need to wait for the results to come out. There is not that much to do. You just have to hold on and wait for the result. But you know, still you can enjoy the race win that you did, and wait for the official results that usually they are not that late to come, but we will see in this case, because I see that people are still talking. So hopefully it will not be a long decision to take.
Well, David, thank you very much for filling there for a moment while I had a quick word with one of my colleagues. This is the situation. There is a tie.
Oh, there is a tie, so we will have to look to the result.
So we have to look to the combined times of qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 as per the regulations.
That's very spicy.
So that, yes, indeed. How close does it get? How close does it get? So what we're going to do is we're going to announce the winner on the podium.
Oh,
so everybody needs to practice their respectful, disappointed face, where you go, like at the Oscars. Yeah. So we've gone from 2 months of racing, 4 races, 96 drivers took part in those qualification races, and many, many, many hundreds of thousands of drivers took part in the qualification process as a whole. We whittled it down to the top 4 of each race. At Monza and at Paul Ricard, we had an on-site qualifier. Here at the Nürburgring, we had 2 on-site qualifiers. From the Abu Dhabi and Dubai dealer network, we had 3 on-site qualifiers. We've had 2 races, 2 qualification sessions. We've had rain, we've had sunshine. Oh, we've still not got the winner.
We have to wait in the podium.
Yep, it has come down to literally the moment in the broadcast before I say goodbye and see you in 2024. That's how close this is.
And that's even worse for the drivers, because we were talking about the tents, and now they have to wait the podium. They like when they announce it's like P3, P2, P1, and you want to hear your name just at the very last moment, and that's where you know you won.
And of course, like when it's points, you've probably written the points down, or your friends or your family that are here have written it, so you can kind of be fairly confident. Yeah, you scored 12 and 14, that makes this, and he did that, so it's probably you. I guarantee no one wrote the qualifying times down of every driver.
Of course.
So there's no idea of that. This is going to be a no idea. I didn't write the qualifying results down.
Also because we saw that it was a mixed field in qualifying 1 and between qualifying 1 and qualifying 2. So we saw different driving starting from the front in the first qualifying and then starting from the back in the second one. So I literally have no clue who is going to be crowned the winner.
And this is the first time I've done this game for a little while now. This is the first time I've been involved in this kind of conclusion to a championship. And there is a nervous-looking, semi-happy type-looking people that just... We don't know which way it's going to go. We're still doing the maths, so we will be doing the podium and the announcement very, very soon indeed. But, yeah, this is going to be devastating for someone.
And I can guarantee that people are trying to make the calculation with the qualifying laps, but not all of them have, all the standings. So they are trying to remember their qualifying laps and maybe putting all together and see where they might be, if they will be third, second, or the winner of the competition. But I can guarantee that the pressure is very high when you have to wait for the podium to see the result.
So let's recap then what's happened so far today. In the first race of the day, in wet conditions, Maciej Malinowski had a dominant performance at the front of the field. Difficult qualifying for Q2, dry conditions, and Dario Yamulo ran away with it at the front of the field to become the race winner. We're now on a very difficult position. We've got to announce our race winner. So I believe we have a winner, which means I am now in a position where I can throw to a little trailer for a few moments while we set the podium up, and then we're going to tell you who's won the championship. So let's have a look at that trailer, and let's announce our race winner. Hello, everybody. So that was quite the end to what has been an incredibly exciting morning and early afternoon running here at the Fanatec Arena. And it's time to announce who our winner is in 2023. So during the races, we paid out points, 16 for a win. We had 2 races, and the idea was going to be that it was simple. Whoever scores the most points is the victor. It took a long time for those points to get totted up, which caused me a moment of concern on the commentary box. And then I was told it was a tie. So the points are level. If we go back to our regulations, in the event of a tie, we look at the qualification times of Q1 and Q2. And we combine those qualification times. And eventually, we come out with a winner. I feel like I'm doing an award show, because I know this winner is. How long do I drag it out for? How long do I drag it out for? So, it is between 2 drivers. Our race 1 winner, Maciej Malinowski, dominated the opening race in wet conditions. And then in race 2, Dario Yamulo was the man at the front of the field. And one of those 2 drivers has won the championship. So, Dario and... In fact, before we do that one, I've got an even better idea. Giorgio, please come on up. Giorgio Sanna, head Lamborghini Motorsports.
Thank you.
The man that's going to be giving out the trophies. I got so excited because we're on a tie. But before we do that one, Giorgio, let's build the tension a little bit more. I want to ask you a couple of quick questions. 2 incredible races. What do you make of what you've seen today?
I have to say that I'm really impressed because it's the first time that I can see, let me say, in live this kind of competition. I have to say that start to become very professional, as of course is the GT World Challenge with the real cars. So I have to congratulate with all the drivers involved, of course with the winners, but everybody, I think, because the effort and the training that they have to do to be really quick and constant, let me say, during the race is very impressive.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. And sim racing has come on a very long way in esports and this kind of competition. For Lamborghini, how do you envisage the future of virtual motorsport and esports?
I have to say that we were the first to believe and to trust and to invest, let me say, in the e-sport, creating the One Mix series. I have to congratulate also with our team from marketing in Lamborghini, because together with Squadra Corse they've put in place and they are continuing to work to have, let me say, this kind of organization. Where we will arrive, nobody knows, but for sure, as I said, the professionality that we are looking is always better and better, and it's clear that we are raising the bar, and with all these guys and girls, I think we are doing a great job. Let's see, because of course also the professional drivers we have in the GT World Challenge or in other championship in the GT3 are always keeping more seriously the training with the simulator. As you know, the simulator is fundamental also to develop the new cars. I believe, honestly, that in the future for these guys, independently if they will have the chance or not to drive or to race with a real car, there will be a future on the simulator in the research and development of the manufacturer. Because the skill you need to develop a car with a simulator, of course, are very particular, and I think they are on the right way to develop these kind of skills.
Fantastic, and I would absolutely agree there. Brilliant words, Giorgio. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
In a few moments' time, we'll have you back out to award the trophies. On behalf of fans everywhere, thank you for this series. It's great to see these opportunities. And now, it's so hot off the press that no one's even told me who finished third in the championship yet, so I'm going to go and ask that question before we do this podium of our third place. So, if I can have our three drivers up on the podium, and I'm going to do your names and positions when you're up here. So if all three of you could just come up first, and I will call you out onto the podium in a second. So, ladies and gents, in third position, Nikodem Sobchak. Congratulations. Congratulations. If you can go onto your podium, please. We'll do the trophies in a moment because we need a winner. So, Dario Yamullo, Maciej Malinowski. How long do I drag this out for? And the winner of the 2023, the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports, Dario Yamullo. Congratulations, a massive round of applause, because that is a performance and that is a win. Well done, Dario. Congratulations, my friend. Tell me, how do you feel?
I mean, I don't even know. I was like quite tension because, I mean, I was in front of the race. I was only watching this gap within 4th and 5. I was almost sure that I'm gonna win, but then the guys told me, no, you were in both points. So I didn't understand nothing until now. So it's great to be here because I had that tough years in my sim racing career that is still short, but who knows what's gonna happen in the future.
Very, very well done. And now it's time for the awards of the podium. So Giorgio, if you could bring out our third place trophy for Nikodem Sobchak, round of applause. Congratulations, a very, very well-earned third position. In second place, Maciej Malinowski. And for the final time this year, our new champion, Dario Yamullo. Round of applause, please. These are our podium finishers in the Lamborghini Real Race Super Trofeo Esports 2023. We've had a thrilling year. Thank you to AK Esports. Thank you to Lamborghini, and thank you to everybody at home and in the arena for being a part of this journey. We are coming back again for the North American Regional Final and the Asia Pacific regional finals very soon indeed. Stay tuned to us on YouTube. But for Europe, it's over and done with. And we'll see you all in 2024.
Guys, for all the drivers, please don't leave because we make a picture everyone, so remain in there.